escape from this domain. You can scream and shout. Go ahead, freak out. Tell me once more what you're sorry about. But I warned you once, you don't get another strike. What did you expect? That I would say psych? Welcome to the astral plane. Just yourself to blame. One wave of this magic wand, boy. Don't try me. Welcome to the astral plane. Just yourself to blame. One wave of this magic wand, boy. Don't try me. Wait a minute, maybe this isn't good enough. You're trapped and frozen, and that's pretty rough, but you know, I think I'm really upset, and things could get a whole lot worse, I bet, so hang on. Wally ain't done yet. On your mark, get ready. Are you ready? Get set. Come on in. No, you don't have to knock. My balls are a lightning rod for cock. You done made Hulk mad. Take a look at this frown. Now Ralph's gonna wreck it. I'ma put you all down. Be a whole lot more than 20 bitches in the ground. I'm an old boss. I'm the one who built this town. I was standing right here before the sun come up. I was around before your late grandpappy was a pup. You got something to say? Good. Step on up. I'll drink piss like yours from a paper cup. Your weak sauce. Son, enough of this shit. Stand back, lad, and watch an old boss crit. Ain't nothing but 20, cause them dice are loaded. I'll beat you till you're bloody and crappy and bloated. Who's next? What you want? Fireball, blizzard? Didn't mama tell you not to fuck with the wizard? Carve you up like a pumpkin. Oh, so scary. Better find a potion, or how about a fairy?
Hello, did you miss me? Go on, say it. That's a frost fairy and I make you want to spray, but it's all good because I'm creamy and delicious. Dairy's really good for your bones, it's nutritious. So tell me, why you want to mess with the mage? Oh, it's got a temper, just listen to the rage. Smart, too, like a wise old sage. That's a big spell book, he read every
I'm a
page.
master caster, slinging spells of disaster, and I'm a teleport because I get there faster. No, now, just save your breath. I don't need to know how you're scared to death. I'm tripping on my robe, or maybe old Toby. I drop a fat beat just above your earlobe, but too bad for you. Sorry you can't dance. Welcome to the astral plane. You had your chance. You had your chance. You don't step to this. Or no. Forget it. Forget it. Welcome to the astral plane. How's that ass feel? Huh?
Alright, there we go. So what's up, guys? Kind of been a while, hasn't it? Well, I've enjoyed my self-imposed exile. It's been good. I haven't exactly been sitting around. Been working myself crazy, but a lot of that was basically just me trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. Well, that's a little hot, isn't it? Hold on, let me dial that down a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I gotta remember how all this stuff works again, right? I guess I'll figure it out as I go along, but yeah, so look at this. I'm back streaming again. What's it been, about 2-3 years or something? I don't know. I mean, it's measured in a matter of weeks, but it has been a while. But look at this. Hell froze over. They got snow. Vegas got snow. Coming to you from Vegas as always. Hey, look at this. New Mario Maker looks great. Yeah, no. Yeah, he's kind of ugly, isn't he? Well, I mean, this is still Hawk. What's going on, man? Hey, Lozano. Hey, it's been a long time since I was here. I know. Yeah, I've been tardy, but I'm back at it. Did you finish the old game? I did. Thanks for asking. Yeah, Valley Village is officially out the door. It's doing okay. I mean, you know, it's getting some downloads, and the people that like it, but it's not exactly going to replace Angry Birds anytime soon. But is it available to download? It is for both iOS and Android. Pick your poison. It is available in both stores right now, totally free, of course. Yeah, go download it. Doesn't cost you anything. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. You know, it's cool. Thank you. Thanks for the download there. Yeah, excuse me. You know, it's in hindsight, you start looking at the kind of things, you go, oh, you know what? I could have done this differently. You know, so I mean, I'm already sort of having that mindset of I would love to go back and start adding this, that, and the other. Which, I mean, hopefully, time permitting, I will come back and do. But, you know, as those of you that remember a million years ago, I jumped into this new project, which, a little more teasing. I'm sorry, guys. I swear I'm going to, like, reveal this. I will spill the beans here pretty soon. But, excuse me. Yeah, so this game, which right now is very much temp art, I promise, is going to be tied into a very famous intellectual property. And I will announce all that stuff. You guys will get to hear about it pretty soon. And then, yeah, it would have like better graphics. I got my old artist, Game of Thrones. Yeah, and okay, fine, you bust me. It's Game of Thrones. But here's the thing. I'm being faithful to the show, so the first 3 levels are fantastic, and the 4th level just goes to hell. It's like, what happened? Yeah, I mean, so you rage quit, you know, just because the game just starts sucking so immensely at that point. No Game of Thrones. Although, actually, you know, if I did a Game of Thrones game, that'd probably be the only way I'd get my wife to actually play the game, I think, you know. But no Game of Thrones. No, it's actually a character that's been around for ages, but never had a video game based on it specifically. So, really looking forward to it. But, so, here's the game plan. Just to let you guys in on it. If you look up there, you'll see the new thing that says attending E3 in 22 days. I'm going to head to Vegas. Wait, I'm in Vegas. Sorry. I'm going to head to LA. Go to E3. Knock on some doors, talk to some people, and try and get some interest in the game before I start going full public with the whole thing. You know, and just do the rounds. I mean, you'll see, once you see the gameplay, you'll see how this is sort of tailored to pretty much any platform. I mean, it would be a natural fit for Switch, but then so would Valley Village, but I digress. I'll get off that soapbox real fast. But yeah, so the game plan is to try and reach out to some of the companies and just say, hey, look, guys, this is where I'm at. This is the point of development. I'm going to have a pretty decent prototype. The game plan is to have that by San Diego Comic-Con, which is in mid-July. And ultimately, the timeline, fingers crossed, the timeline will be to have the game out by end of year. Predominantly because I'm smart enough not to do this one solo. I've brought in, as I just started to allude to before, I brought in an amazingly talented artist named Daniel Thomas, who I've referenced before and also worked with me before, like on my very first game, Poker with Bob. And I was fortunate enough, I teased it before. I said I was reaching out to him and hoping that he's going to come on board, and he is. I am so happy that, he said yeah. So we get to work together again, and he is banging away as we speak right now, making me some fantastic concept art. And then once we get that all lined up, he's going to be going to town like crazy, try and get all the art lined up nicely. So then this really, which way am I going? This way, yeah, there you go. All this temp art stuff will be going away, right? I'll get to replace it. And then, of course, once that happens, I'll be talking about what the full intellectual property is involved. And you guys are going to find out about it. And hopefully once I throw it out there, hopefully some other people are going to be interested and want to follow along, because there's a big user base for this game, just in terms of fan base rather. So, and that's the other reason why I'm holding back, because I think I mentioned before, is like if I talk about it now, people are going to come look at it and kind of go, wait, that's it? God, that looks terrible, and then bail. So I want to make sure that I get all my ducks in a row before I formally announce it, so then people that do come to check it out don't cringe and walk away, the first impression kind of stuff. So anyways, so that's it. That's the game plan. So I'm going to go to E3, talk to a few people, and see if I can garner some early interest in the game, and then come back and go to town and try and get this prototype put together. But I'm going to show you guys what I've done since I last streamed, and a ton of changes. I also went to a convention here in Vegas called the Level Up Expo, which I love, man. This thing is so nice. It started off as a really small convention up in this really small area called the Cashman Field. There's a convention center there, and I mean, it was just a handful of booths, but we're here like 5 years later, and it now has like a large section of one of the Las Vegas convention centers. And you can imagine, I mean, Las Vegas, man, that's our bread and butter, is these convention centers. So the fact that they've actually expanded to almost the entirety of the South Wing, truly impressive how this thing has grown. So anyways, the point is the fact that I put together a prototype to show some gameplay, and I'm going to show you guys, excuse me, so you can get to see what the demo was that I put in front of people and got a ton of people to play it. And I even did a little thing, right, just to sort of add a carrot to the motivation. What I said is like, hey, if you can beat the game, I'm going to pay you $1, right? And the point was the fact that I was actually just sort of recording the gameplay, not recording the people, but just recording the gameplay, so I could like look at what they do, look at their choices, and see how the game plays out, and see what things are working and what things need some major overhaul. And so I said, if you can beat the game, I'll pay you $1. If you can beat the game, right, and take no damage, right, and then like do a perfect run, collect all the items, take out all the enemies, I'll pay you $5, right? Now, keep in mind, there's only one person that's been playing the game for the few weeks beforehand. Since I signed off from you guys and I just went nuts on putting this demo together, right, I was the only one that had been playing it, right? And, that's always a bad thing. So I bring it out there for Friday night, excuse me, and let people play it. And you can see down here at the bottom of the screen, it says section 1 of 10. So there's 10 individual sections for you to progress upwards through, right? By the end of Friday, excuse me, which was a shortened day, but I mean, there was still good 5 hours worth of playtime, right? By the end of Friday, no one had made it past the 3rd section. So, we're talking not just like, I mean, this is Level Up Expo. This is a convention designed for gamers. So these were gamers that are actually playing the game. And that's when I kind of went, oops. So I frantically went home Friday night, even though I was kind of tired because I'd been setting up the booth and everything. But I went home, made a bunch of changes, tweaked the game, right, and brought back a revised version and changed my numbers. I just said, hey, if you can beat the game, right, and, take out half the enemies, collect half the coins, right, and finish it, then I'll pay you $5. And that was perfect, because then I had a bunch of people that were determined to beat it, and it was really cool. In the end, I think 8 people ended up beating the game. So it gave me great footage, gave me great stuff to study, and excuse me, it seemed like everyone was really digging it. And that's the key thing, right, is that, the feedback was great. You're going to see, if you guys remember what I was playing with when I last saw you guys, and you'll look at this one, and you're going to see a ton of changes, right? And I'll go through and talk about why I made the changes I did, but some of it's going to be kind of self-explanatory, and some of it was just decisions made on the fly. Excuse me. So this is the way the game starts in my demo, and I was using gamepad, of course, right? So that way, you know, I mean, ultimately it's going to be a tablet game as well as desktop, but it was cleaner because I had a little arcade cabinet, right? And I had this joystick that was just sitting out in front of it. People could pick it up, and that way also it was tethered, right? Not a wireless, tethered. So that way I knew it was not going to walk off, right? Since I was just a one-man show, right? I didn't have to worry about, you know, someone, you know, kind of walking off with some of my content. But, so anyways, you can just imagine it, just a standard Logitech, you know, joystick that you pick up at, like, Target for $15, right? That's what I was using. And that's what the people are playing with. So, excuse me. So let me show you, let me fire this up. I'll go like this. Boom. There you go. So this kind of introduces the new components. And the first thing we see that's totally different from what you guys saw, because if you remember, I was adamant about going, there's no wall jumping. I'm not going to do wall jumping in my game. That's just not going to happen. There's wall jumping now. Let me show you. So, I mean, if I jump here, look at that. You know, I still got the double jumps, but now you can, like, just, you know, you do all this stuff where you can hang on it, right? And just, you know, kind of Super Meat Boy-like, right? You can do that, right? And you're kind of going, you know, those of you that have been watching me the whole time, you're kind of going, wait, hypocrite, dude. Mr. Hypocrite. Hello, Mr. Hypocrite. Then weren't you the one that's just kind of going, we're not doing, no, I just don't want to do that. We're not going to do that in the game. And here it is. Here's the explanation. When I started testing it, right, I bring it over, my ultimate test is I bring it over to a low-end Android tablet device. That's the best way to figure out, you know, because if it plays well on Android, then I know I'm golden, right? If it can play on a low-end device, then I'm set, right? It didn't. What I found was the fact that just because of the speed of the older devices, what would happen was sometimes it would have a situation where you'd have like a platform, right? And then you'd jump up, and it was supposed to, obviously in this situation, it would just hit and then slide down, right? But because of the way it refreshed, sometimes he would become impaled into the geometry, right? It just because of the update. By the time it updated, he was already in there, and it, you know, it just kind of went, well, he's here, so we just stick. So he was catching and impaling onto platforms that he never should have. So my options were A, try and go nuts on the code and prevent that from ever happening. And the odds of me accomplishing that are like none, right? No, just not going to happen. So the alternate was to just, you know, when in Rome, right? Just, okay, fine, embrace it. And accept the fact that I'm going to have to introduce wall climbing, right? So that way at least I know it'll work, right? You know, and then I'll be compatible and all that kind of stuff. So the casualty with that was the fact that I'd already developed 10 levels, and at this point I was literally like 8 days out from Level Up Expo when I decided to do this radical flip, right, and totally change the gameplay, introduce wall climbing components, right, and all the stuff that goes along with that. And in doing so, all the levels I've made were completely useless at that point, right? Excuse me, because you could wall jump, you could essentially go past pretty much all the traps that I'd laid out for you in my early demo. So that meant that I, you know, a week and a half out from the actual game convention, I had to start over and do it. So I worked frantically, but it paid off. I mean, in the end, it was good. You know, I mean, it wasn't quite as polished as it could have been, but, you know, for the time frame I had and for the response I got, I think we're doing okay. But before I get started here, just make sure you guys, just let you know, I know you guys are out there, so I'll do a little bombing run. There you go. Wake you guys up. Fly, be free. There you go. All right, so let me come back over here, find my mouse. There he is. All right, so we have wall climbing now, right? And then what I do is here just simply introduce the concept of double jumping, right? And then this is tutorial. So you can see that you're going to take damage, but because it's tutorial, there's no health, it's endless, right? So I just, that way when people are trying it, I didn't want them to get like PO'd, which actually I took the bounce off of that. I got to put that back in. Okay, so we have double jump, right? And then I introduced these lava flows, right? Which the text brilliantly is covering half of. Nice job, idiot. But you can see how this just kind of introduces the concept of timing, right? And just shows you what's coming. And then we have the enemies, right? And then you can see I do, because I didn't want to invest any time, these are still placeholder, as I mentioned. And I didn't want to waste any time putting any animation in this. So if you look, what he does is he dips down. You see that? He just kind of like drops his head and then charges. So that way there's an indication, right, when you know he's about to come. And of course, when you can squish him Mario-like, right? You can squish him, but right now he just disappears. Because once again, there's no reason to waste time in the animation since that character is about to go away. So once we did that, we come to the finish line, and hopefully it loads the right one. It did. Good. So now we get into the actual gameplay. This is the real game at this point, and it's all about the wall climbing. And I'm going to have these like areas that you can, obviously you saw there's like a gold brick kind of thing. That's going to get replaced by a tile that's cracked, right? Which is the universal thing of go here, blow. I mean, come on. Zelda introduced that, 50 years ago. So I'll have like, some of the tiles will have cracks in them, and you see the crack, and then oh, I hit that and I exposed something. In this case, there'll be like hidden areas, right? Excuse me. So here we are. We're just going to go through and try and collect all these coins, and we'll see how well I do myself here, right? Like that. And then it's all about the wall, hugging the wall and that kind of stuff now. Oops, that was stupid. Took my first hit there. So we like that, squish him. Clear this stuff. Oh, so then, by the way, just so you know, I talked about the fact that I made it too hard for the Friday, right? What I had in this first section was all these areas had tons of lava flows, right? And what I realized foolishly was I was trying so hard to be like, Super Meat Boy. I wanted it just to be like, kick you in the teeth kind of thing right from the get-go. But I realized that was stupid for a demo where I wanted people to test it, because they would play it and just get rocked from the get-go. And I realized I needed to dial this back. So these first few levels are much more forgiving than they were when I first demoed it on that Friday night. So you can do like that hanging over there. So this is just teaching you all about the concept of, grabbing walls, right? And then he comes up, squish him, right? Like that. And then here's a bit of a puzzle. Slide down just a little bit, and then you can get over that, touching no lava. Take him out. All right. Like so. Let's see if I can do this. There you go. And the double jump obviously plays a major part in all this. And then see if I can time that right. There you go. And here's another brick that reveals another section. Some of these too, I'll talk about this later, but some of these are going to be tricked out with like kind of like Downwell and Splunky, where it'll reveal like a little cave section that'll take you into an area that can reveal a bonus area that can either be like a merchant to sell you power-ups, or it could be just like an area full of coins and that kind of stuff, right? Just give you more power-ups and that kind of thing. So, all right, I'm doing okay so far, which means I just jinxed myself, right? Here you go. You see like this one going really fast here, so this is pure timing puzzle. Made it through okay. There you go. Take out this guy like so. There we go. Now this one introduces a concept of sometimes, and then actually I'm going to probably take damage here. I'm going to try and do this because I changed the way the bricks work. Originally, when I first showed the demo, when you jump up and impact on the brick, you go through it, right? But then I came with the idea of having lava that could be unleashed from above. So I had to change the timing. So now you bounce off the brick, whereas before you kind of like float through it. So that changes the timing on this puzzle right here. So I may not be able to do this without taking damage. We'll have to see. What I'll do is I'll try and, oops, let me get my cursor out of the way. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try and hit it. Oh, there we go, that worked. Okay, that's a lot harder, but draw him back over like so. Hey, what's up, Alex? How's it going, buddy? How did the game Valley Village turn out? It did. It turned out. I'm not exactly lighting up the the record download tables. It's not exactly in the top 10, but it's doing pretty well. I mean, the good news is the people that are downloading and playing it seem to really enjoy it. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, sorry, I sidelined myself. I just kind of like reorganized and tried to figure out. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was right when I finished the stream, and I think part of it was just like I got so overwhelmed with trying to getting out the door, and I also needed. Yeah, please do. Yeah, it's iOS and Android. It's free, so you can grab it and give it a try. But thanks, man. I appreciate the download. But yeah, so it was a situation where my hiatus was kind of twofold. It was one that getting the game out. At first it was kind of like okay. And I mean, you guys are aware of this, I'm sure, right? When you release a game, right, it's almost like that postpartum syndrome kind of thing, where you know you've pushed so hard to get out the door, and especially when you have like catches and things like that came up. In my case, I had that run-in with Apple, right, where they were just messing with me, right? You know, where they approved it, and then like right before the release date, they unapproved it for some esoteric reason, for something that was fine for weeks, and then they just changed their mind. So I went through all that, you know, and it was a combination of just getting the game out, right, and just kind of getting a little burnt, combined with the idea that I really had to focus on this one and try and figure out the best formula for it, right? And you know, it was a lot of trial and error, and also because I was trying to gear up for the Level Up Expo, which I had like a super finite amount of time to get that together. So it was just a combination of those two things that I decided I needed to pull away and just make sure that I can just not worry about like doing a terrible stream and, you know, still be entertaining, but just, you know, just bury myself. And it was good. I mean, it really helped, and I'm hoping you guys will see that I think what I have is turning out pretty well. A lot of changes since you saw last, and this is the demo I showed at the Level Up Expo. And let's see if I can do this. Hey, I did it clean. But still a long way to go. But as I said, I'm excited to see. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's yeah, and I'm really excited because so I mentioned the fact that I have my old artist friend Daniel Thomas, who's been working with me since my very first game, which at this point goes back to 2010, if you could believe it, all the way back then, back in the golden days when you could actually sell a game for real. But I also have another company I've worked with before called Iron Belly Studios, which is going to help me make some of these levels as well, right? Because, I mean, could I do it all? Yeah. But do I need to do it all? No. I can, you know, I can take the help. And that's something that I've been pretty bad about sort of like obsessing over, you know, micromanaging and doing everything myself. And I have to accept that, you know, you don't have to, okay, I changed that. Originally in the demo, that was only half a height, right? Now it's full, so you're going to hit I missed a coin. Yep, I got it. But I hosed myself because this guy right here in the demo, and I just started changing the tiles here. I'll explain that later, but this one was actually only half height. And right now it's sort of like an impossible task because you're going to hit that. But yeah, we'll worry about that later. So I got 2 left, and I'm almost at the end. I don't know. I might make it. We'll see. Let's see if I can do this here. Oop, there he goes. All right. All right. And then I'll just expose this, but I'm not going to try and go this stuff because you can see these are challenging. And since I only have my 2 left, I'm just going to play it safe and see if I can just get the heck out of here and not die. Same with this section. This is one where it just gets really challenging, but I got to tell you a funny story about this. So imagine this, right? The first guy, so at this point at the Level Up Expo, no one's beaten the game yet, right? A bunch of people have tried, and like I said, I offered the carrot of $5. Beat my game, I'm going to pay you $5 right there on the spot, right? And I ended up doing it ultimately to 8 people that managed to beat the game. But the first one is so funny because it was so fun to watch these people play the game, because they would start off and they would make it like to, you know, 3rd section and get wiped, right? And then they would go make 5th section, 6th, 7th, and it was fun to watch them sort of like over time adapt, almost like, you know, machine learning, right? You know, when you see the games where the machine learns how to play the game, these people are doing the same thing, right? But this one guy was so cool. He got to this section, right? And he was down to, I have 2 health. He was down to only 1 health left, right? But he had collected all the coins and had taken out all the enemies. And if you remember what I said, I changed the rules, and I said you have to collect half the coins, take out half the enemies, and beat the game, right? So at this point, he's at this spot right here. And then at this point, like 4 people are watching him, right? And I make the point of going, okay, that's it, dude. If you go to the right, if you go over this direction, that's the exit. If you just go up, you beat the game. You don't have to get those extra coins, right? And he goes, he has the joystick, he just shakes his head, he's like, no, I'm going to do it. The dude was so hardcore. He had 1 health to risk, but he wanted to be a completionist. He had to go after those extra coins, right? And it was so impressive. And we're all watching him, like, and he got, like, I had all these near misses because this area right in here, this is a super hard one. You got to drop and then bounce up, right? In a perfect double bounce and not touch anything, right? And he pulled it off. It was so cool, man. I mean, it's just like he completed it, and we're all just like cheering for him. It was so cool. But me, on the other hand, I'm going to totally wimp out and see if I can just beat this like so. There you go. And there's the finish. There you go. So that was the demo. That's it. You see I pressed the A button because this is designed for joystick play, of course, as I said. But that is the full demo with the 10 levels that I put together for the Level Up Expo, which is just a few weeks ago now. And it was good. I mean, you know, I had a ton of people that played it. You know, a bunch of people asking, like, when's it coming out? And it's like, not for a while. I mean, not with these graphics. But yeah, by and large, what I was asking about is, like, do the controls feel tight? That was the key thing, right? Does it play well? Does it, you know, and then everyone was, I mean, like, universally, you know, I didn't feel like anyone was just kind of going, yes, it feels great. It's a fantastic game. No, I mean, it seemed legit. So that was exciting. But that's, yeah, so I got out of there and just started adding more stuff and working with some of the things that I needed to change. So let me see if I can come back. Is it available for download? No. No. I mean, it is such a rough state right now. It is in terrible shape. I mean, there's really not much there, you know. So I didn't bother. I mean, once I start dropping the graphics in, the game plan is to make WebGL versions, right? That you guys will be able to play from a browser and try it out that way, because that's going to be a key thing. You know, at this point, I feel confident about all the components I want to put in the game. The thing that scares me is, of course, is the balance, right? And that's what I got to work out. I'll show you here in a little while all the things I want to add to the game, right? Power-ups and that kind of stuff, and just trying to get the right balance. That's something that is impossible to do by yourself, right? You know, you guys know that. I mean, you play the game too much, and you've mastered it, and it's easy, right? But you put it in front of other people that are playing it for the first time, and they just get destroyed. So I'm going to have to, like, do a bunch of testing, and the game plan is through WebGL, and then ultimately, oops, excuse me, sorry about that. Ultimately, part of my trip to E3 is I'm going to talk to Epic, and I'm sorry if you guys are going to get hacked off over the whole Epic Store thing, but, you know, I mean, you know, exposure and money is all about exposure money. But, you know, and also because this is a partnership, this isn't my intellectual property. I'm sharing this with a business partner, and he, you know, as much as he wants me to make a good game, he also wants me to make a good game that makes lots of money, right? So if Epic offers me something, right, then that's going to be the way I go. I mean, obviously I still spin off to mobile as well, right? But, you know, if that presents itself, I'm going to look at that. But the point is Epic, if it does or doesn't happen, if not, then I go back to Steam. But I'm really interested in trying, and I mean, this is my 7th game, but it'll be my first that'll have desktop play. You know, true, honest to God. You know, I keep saying some of the other games, you know, maybe make it a desktop, but this one is truly going to be designed for that as well as mobile. But I want to do early access, right? Because, I mean, I feel confident about getting all the graphics and the controls and, you know, in the bugs, right? I feel confident about getting all that in place and knocking all the bugs out. But the balance is the thing I'm going to need a lot of help and feedback on. And that's what I'm hoping the early access will give me a chance to do. And also, of course, to hopefully build interest in the game, right? So that is the game plan. That is the objective. Let me see if I can come back. Let's see. If I have the prototype, let me do that. If I go save, let me see if I have the older one on this one. Let's see if this comes back. So I can show. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is the slightly older version. Oh yeah. This is what I was talking about. So this is the Friday night demo, right? This is the one that I said, okay, I could play this, right? I could beat this game. And then I took it out there Friday night for the demo, and it just wiped everyone. Because you see right from the get-go, right? You got lava flows that are just bouncing everywhere, and the timing is precise right from the start. So people that pick up the joystick for the first time are just getting crushed, right? You know? So I had a couple of hardcore gamers that, you know, soldiered on even with this kind of nightmare in your face right from the start. But I had a couple of casual players that would play it once or twice and kind of go, okay, thanks, you know? So that's when I knew I had to dial it down. But the reason I want to show this was because, right, so you guys, if you saw before, I've been using all of Unity's tile-based system, right? And I'm really getting on board with that. But because I was throwing this together, it was simpler to just go in and do individual sprites for the lava originally, right? And so that's what all this stuff is set up. And the benefit of doing individual sprites, you know, like for example, we were looking before, it hadn't popped up yet, but remember the one I said I was hitting my head on, right? I'm able to go into any one of these individual sprites and just shrink it down, right? So I can position that better. But the trade-off is the fact that each one of these are individual sprites, right? Which means that I got a ton of colliders, there's a ton of other stuff going on, and conversely, if you look at, you know, one of these tile levels, right, with that combining plugin that I'm using, Composite Collider, right? You remember how that just takes it all and turns it into one giant glider, right? So it just super increase in performance, right? So I just started going back and doing that with the tiles as well. That's where I was at adding that. So that's going to complicate things a little bit in terms of how it behaves, right? That gives me a little less control because they're all unified into one, so I can't just scale it down. And sometimes I have one that needs to be like offset, so I have to do 2 layers of lava with the tiles sometimes, right? One of them that carries like most of the tiles, but the lava tiles, and then some of the ones that have offset that I introduced. I'll show you that in a little while. But anyways, let me go through here just to show you. This is okay. I haven't played this in a couple of weeks, so I'm probably gonna get destroyed. But yeah, right from the get-go, you see how there's just tons of lava flows all over the place, right? Even here, right in the beginning, right? Oh, I made it. And like this is super hard. You gotta just time this right and then get the heck out of there, you know, before you get tagged. And even this one, right? Remember how you're just able to go across, but now you gotta like hook onto that and wait for the timing here. So it's just really punishing right from the start, which I liked because that's what I thought it'd be fun to show, just a really super hardcore game. But I realized that I can't do that in introductory levels. I needed to be a little kinder on that. What did I hit? Really? What am I hitting there? Really? That's like a mystery. Okay, that was a mystery death. Go figure. All right. Well, old version. Anyway, so there was the before and after concept, right? Don't say it. I don't think I changed anything there. All right. So the way I set it up was kind of a nifty little system. So I have like the main base game, and this is going to be kind of the similar structure. Oh, wait. There you go. Bomb attack. There you go. This is going to be kind of the structure I'm going to hang on to for the full game. I'll tweak this, I'm sure, a bit, but this is working pretty well for me. So right now what I have, excuse me, is a whole series of sections, right? Let me show you that. So I have like all these individual ones. So I had like, here's the one that I showed you, right? That was the hardcore version, right? And then I have like this tile layer that covers up the areas, right? And so I have this version, right? And then I have, of course, when I came home that Friday night and I made the easier version, right? I took out the lava flows in those places to ease up the difficulty. But so you can see this is what the section looks like, right? And then I have it right now kind of hard-coded the idea that it's either the entrance and exit is either center, left, or right. And then you can actually see in my naming conventions, right? I have CL, so it means it starts at center and it exits on the left, right? And I'm going to follow suit with that. I mean, this nice thing about that is it becomes very modular, right? And yes, the levels are pre-made, right? So it's not going to be truly procedural like Downwell and Spelunky are. But the upside is that Downwell and Spelunky really don't offer much in terms of puzzles. It's much more of a just everything thrown at your face and you just have to soldier through everything, right? So hopefully the benefit of doing these handcrafted is that there's a much more tighter puzzle element to it, that you feel like this is handcrafted and you trust that this stuff is designed to make it so you have to get that timing right. You know, and I think there's a plus side to that. But by still making this with the fixed entrance points with just those 3, you know, left, center, and right, that means that I can reuse these things and have the order switch at any point, right? And then, you know, also I can mirror them, right? So that way that increases the count a ton more, right? So the objective here is every time you play the game, it'll be hopefully a situation where it's no 2 games will ever be the same, but similar, right? You can get to sections that you kind of recognize, but ultimately what I want is sort of like as I demonstrated here, maybe like I'll look at level 2 here, right? So this is the level 2, the hard version, right? And then you can see, I mean, look at this, lava flow here, and then lava flow here, right? Just really just pain in the butt, difficult, right? Then conversely, if I come back to the easy version, boom, and you just see that they're all gone, right? There's no lava flows anymore, right? You know, you have this one that's a little bit of a challenge that sticks on the wall, but still, this is tremendously easier. So ultimately what I'll do is I'll have multiple versions of the same layer. This is an old trick that I pulled from an old game that I played a million years ago on the Amiga called Lemmings. And you guys remember Lemmings? Man, that's like one of the very first games I actually finished, right? And it was hard. That was a game. You want to talk about a game that punishes you. Everyone talks about how hard Super Meat Boy is. No. Super Meat Boy's got nothing on Lemmings. Lemmings was literally, you had to be pixel perfect, right? A lot. And you had to click on the right guy at the right time. But anyways, the reason I mention it is the fact that the beauty of Lemmings was, you know, you would face the same level structure multiple times, right? But they would just reduce the amount of power-ups or benefits that you'd have in the game. So every time you'd experience a level, it just, you knew that it was going to get more challenging, right? You know, you'd have builders that could let you get across into safety in the early ones, but then you'd be down to like a builder, and then your timing had to be much more refined. And I love that. They did it primarily just because they, you know, obviously it was Amiga, right? Early days of Amiga, so, you know, they had to be constrained in their amount of space they used, right? But I think the beauty of it is that it breeds a level of familiarity, but it still makes a challenge, because every time you come to a level, you have to sort of like look at this and not just like, you know, from rote, just go, okay, I go here, and done, right? Like Dragon's Lair kind of thing. No, this, because you're experiencing it at a different point, means that traps could change every time too, right? And I think that's going to be kind of fun. And the benefit, of course, is that gives me the option of having tons more content for you guys, right? And that's, hopefully that's the trade-off, and that will allow the game to stay fresh every time you play it, you know. So kind of like Downwell and Spelunky, I think I've said it a million times, but they're definitely my blueprint, right? I love the 4-world concept, right? And I love the, you know, kind of the 4 levels in each of the 4 worlds. And that's what I'm going to shoot for. Right now I have this section of 10, right? There's 10 sections that stack. I'm not sure that's going to be too much, right? I mean, even, you know what? Actually, while I'm talking, check this out. Give me a sec here. I'll show you. One sec. I'll show you one of the guys that actually beat the game at Level Up Expo. I recorded the footage, of course, like I mentioned. And let me show you this. It's kind of cool. Where is he? Give me one sec. Wait, where is it? Oh, here it is. Alright, so I'm going to bring this over here. Alright. Really? No. Let me just go. Alright, do it this way. Copy. So I didn't make this public just because I didn't want to subject you guys to it, because it's just, I mean, the graphics are so insanely archaic. But I just wanted, while I'm chatting away, you guys can see a hardcore gamer beat this game. And this is after he played the game like at least 10, 15 times, right? So it's just so much fun to watch him sort of like over time kind of pick up on it. But yeah, and the other thing I want to show is the fact that duration. I mean, this is 3 minutes, right? So it takes him 3 minutes to get through all 10 sections, right? And, you know, if you look at Spelunky or the Downwell, I think that's a little long compared to them in terms of like each section, because remember, each world would have 4 sections, right? So that's, you know, 3 times 4 is, what was that? 3 times 4 is 12, right? And then if there's 4 worlds, then you're talking about 12, 24, 48 minutes to complete the full game. I mean, it's not bad, you know, but I mean, that's part of the thing I'm talking about. That's going to be part of the testing process, you know. I may try and reduce the number, and then, you know, I may get feedback that says, no, now it feels like it's too easy. I don't know. I mean, time will tell. I mean, obviously, I mentioned the fact that there's going to be like hidden rooms that give you opportunities to bring your health back online, right? And restore your health, and the power-ups, which I'm going to talk about here very soon, I promise. So the power-ups will, you can, in these little hidden markets, you can, bring them back up in terms of, there's he went through the brick. Did you notice that? Where he didn't bounce off of it, he went through it. I changed that. So, I mean, that's going to be a ton of balancing. I think a good chunk of the time will be getting the game up to speed with all the graphics and all the levels, but after that, it's just going to be a matter of trying to get it balanced, and that's where I'm hoping you guys can help with the WebGL version once I get that up and running, which is still be a ways off, but I mean, I definitely would love you guys to give feedback in terms of gameplay performance. Oh, and there's the half that I talked about. See, there's that half, so you can hit it with your head and not take damage. But anyway, oops, sorry about that. But yeah, so that's gonna be it. I mean, I don't mean to harp on it, but I'm kind of overwhelmed by the concept of, normally in the previous games I've made, I have a better sense of balance right from the get-go, and because this one is gonna have so many factors mixed in, that I think it's gonna be a lot harder to get the balance right. Oh, and here you go. Check this out. So he gets that one, and he gets that one. He actually does it differently than I even did it myself, which I love to see that, right? It's so cool. But this is not the first guy I mentioned, right? This is actually another guy who I think he might have been the last one to beat it, but he's in the same way that, it's like he wanted to be a completionist. So he gets to this point, and he has 3 left, and it's like, you just have to go to the right, dude, and you're done. But he was all hardcore, and he's like, no, I'm going to do this. Look at that. That's pretty, And, I mean, I think this stuff is going to play well for speedrunners, too. I'm hoping that will play well for speedrunners that want to, be completionists. There he goes. But there's also be a time element. How fast can you beat the game? And how much can you... Oh, and he took one less hit the last second there. So I'm hoping that plays out that way. I'm hoping everyone kind of gets into it, and, and then the other thing I was thinking about, I mean, this is a ton of stuff, but like I said, it's been weeks, right? And this is all the stuff that I've been working out in my own head while you guys were away. But what ultimately, because, I mean, as much as I love Downwell, and as much as I love Spelunky, I mean, and Super Meat Boy, let's be honest, man, those games are hard, right? I mean, they're insanely hard. And if I made a game that was truly that punishing for 100% of the game players, my business partner, the owner of the IP, he's not going to be as happy, right? Because, I mean, there's a smaller market there. So I think my game plan will be to have multiple modes, right? To start off with a more casual play, kind of like what I was showing you with the first levels, where I'd taken out a lot of the traps, right? And then, if you can beat that one, then there'll be like a casual, and there'll be a normal, and then there'll be the hardcore mode, right? So that can, hopefully, the idea is that it'll appeal to all players, but the normal and the hardcore mode will get rewarded with better endings, right? So there's a reward, there's a definite carrot to make you want to come back, and then there'll be stuff to unlock as well along the way. I haven't mentioned it today, but for those of you guys that have hung with me for a while, you know that this game will actually be a premium app. So I'll be charging you up front, which the benefit then is the fact that I don't have to hose you on anything, right? There's no, oh, hey, here, here's a loot box. Guess what's in it? Oh, I'm not going to tell you, but you can wait for 4 days and find out for free, or you can give me some money and I'll open it right now. Hey, look, it's crap. Enjoy. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be much more kinder on that. It's, there's going to be tons of stuff. There's going to be, hats, glasses, all kinds of stuff to dress your character up with, right? And personalize it. But that just comes through gameplay, just rewarded through repeated gameplay, toying with the idea of doing sort of like a mission-based kind of system. And once again, this is all going to come out through testing. But, I mean, for those of you who've played Subway Surfer, which is going to be like virtually everyone, because, Subway Surfer has, 3 billion downloads? But, and I mean, other games do this as well, but there's just one that came to mind first. It's just, I mean, they have that mission-based system. And to me, that is so much fun. That's something that, how do you get someone to keep playing the same levels over and over? It's like, well, you offer them a reward for pushing through and doing something different through those different times. And that's what I'm hoping that the mission-based system will allow and reward you with unlocking you know, new little goofy hats, glasses, you know, that kind of stuff. So that will be the game plan for that. There you go. How's that for a ton of talking already, right? Where are we at? Jeez, I'm only 50 minutes in and I just spilled the beans on all that garbage. You believe that? All right. So I guess what I'm trying to say in a very winded, circuitous route is the fact that there's been a ton of stuff that's happened here. You know, you can see that I've been working on a lot of stuff. So let me come back here, and if you notice, I did go up to Unity 2019, so I jumped up there, which, by the way, I got a tremendous performance in terms of editor play, right? I noticed this I was still in 2017 land. I kind of went from 2017 up to 19, but 2017 there was a lot of stutter stepping, right, and stuff that wasn't really even doing anything. If I had something selected in the inspector and I would run the game, it would just constantly hit, right? And I got a monster machine, so that can't be a culprit. But now that I've gone up to 2019, that's all gone, which I'm really happy about. All right, so here is my core start, right? And this will change, but it's good enough to start with. And the way it works is I have the levels here, right? And then this is what I did for the demo, for the level up demo. And you can see that numerically I kind of changed it around so that way I can make sure everything linked, right? So it starts off in the center, and then it goes to the left side, and then it does one that's kind of left to left, and then it does the next one goes from left to center. So you can just see the key thing is that the exit going into the next element, the next section, their entrance, they line up, right? So that way you don't get stuck. And this is something that ultimately right now is hard-coded, but this will be something that when you play the game, this will all happen dynamically, right? So I'm going to take this out and show you kind of what I was doing here. And just for performance reasons, it loads all the stuff in, right? These are all prefabs, of course, right? So it grabs it, and what it'll do is rather than just like load everything and display everything, I just kind of do it over time, right? So you can see right here, I have the first and second section loaded in, right? But you can actually see if I come up there, so you can see it loads the next one, right? Grabs that. Oh crap! And I just took damage, but there you go. And once I get in here to a certain point, boom. Then you see the first section just went away. Now if we come back down, right, and say what happened, what you'll see here now is that I've drawn the line in the sand, right? You can't go any further down, but that'll be a good thing because, you know, if you guys remember, the whole concept is you're in the core of a planet, right? You're right there in the core of the planet, in the lava, right? The lava core is expanding upward, right? So I have it turned off right now, but there's that lava flow that's constantly rising with you. My original concept, excuse me, was to have the lava constantly rising on you, but what I realized is that sort of became too much of a distraction, I think, and that sort of detracts from the puzzles. You know, I mean, if you want to go after there's enough ways to die in this game already, right? I mean, you know, these puzzles are pretty challenging just by themselves. Having that lava stuff come up is just too much. So I think the game plan is where, you know, what you saw in that section there when you get to the 10th section, you know, kind of like Downwell, kind of like Splunky, right? You get a break reward, right? You finish the first section of the first world, you get to go to the next one, right? And maybe there's a power-up that gets tossed to you. But what'll happen on the 4th level, right? I'm going to have the little mini-boss thing. So for this first one, I think what I'll probably do is just turn it into a race, right? When you get to that final section of the core world, right, the core expanding world, then that's when you'll face the lava rising, right? So this is, in essence, the rising lava will become the boss, right? That'll be the boss fight, and that'll be a matter of you just going from, and then I'll have like short platforms, right? And it'll become a challenge of, you know, getting your butt up there before the lava gets you, right? So that is the intention, and I think that'll play pretty well. I think that'll be kind of fun, you know, as an introductory boss level, because I'm going to have 4 worlds, right? I probably mentioned this before, but in case I didn't, I'll go over it. So, you know, you start off in the core of the planet, right? You get your way up. If you can get out of there, you end up in a deep canyon, right? So you're above ground, but you're in a canyon. If you can push through that, then you're going to come up into an alien forest, right? Jungle kind of scenario. And if you can reach the top of that, then you're going to get your butt off of there and back into a spaceship for the final level. So that'll be the progression all the way through. And each one, excuse me, will have introduce new antagonists, right? Obviously new graphics and a couple of new play elements, right? Power-ups will pretty much remain the same. That'll be pretty consistent. I think that's a standard in these games. So I don't see a big need of coming up with new power-ups for each for each world. And I'm also kind of hindered by the fact that the character won't carry a gun. You can't really shoot. So the number of different various power-ups I can come up with is somewhat limited, right? So I think just having that right from the get-go, and then following suit with some of the other games I mentioned, just having the ability of getting the power-up that you're gonna get one power-up per section, right? And then choosing wisely, I think will go a long way to figure out which ones do best for you to allow you to plow through, and also type of gameplay. Are you trying to be a completionist? Are you trying to collect everything? Or are you just trying to beat the game? Then, if you just want to beat the game, then power-ups that allow you to get more health, I think, are going to be much more beneficial. So, anyways, sorry. So that's sort of what I'm shooting for. And so what I want to do for San Diego Comic-Con is to have this lava world, right? This first world, hopefully in a decent shape, and playable by that time, with most of the stuff locked in place, along with the revised graphics. That's, finger crossed, that's what I'm shooting for. And we'll see if it comes together. As I mentioned, Daniel will be doing the art for me, and then I will be trying to get the animation plugged in, since that's my thing, animation. And we'll see what the timeline does to me, right? We'll see how much I get to put in and how much I have to sort of like let slide for the show, but we'll see. All right. So, let's see, what else do I need to talk about here? That's a ton of it right there. You guys can offer any thoughts? Anything you see that jumps out at you? Anything you kind of go, yeah, no, maybe, right? Anything you see that you got questions about? But that's pretty much gets you up to speed of what I've been doing. Not exactly just sitting by the beach, sipping Mai Tais. Maybe in my head I've been doing that, because, Tahiti is a wonderful place. Or is it Tahiti is a beautiful place? I don't know. What is the line? I don't know. Agent Colton's like hating on me right now. But anyways. Alright guys. So what are we going to do? I could talk about the power-ups and then maybe do some of that. I can also show some of the other stuff I was working on. Let's see. I started to play with some of the Next World stuff. Yeah. Let me show you this. So as I said, each world's going to introduce new enemies. Whoops. Oh, yeah, I forgot how my own system works. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the game controller, and then I'm going to swap the first level out and just drop something else in here like so. And it won't match at the top of the level, but I just want to show you this first section. So what I have here, let's see. Oh, that's broken. Let me come back and do, is it A? I think that one works okay. Yes? Yeah, there it is. All right. So, World 2, as I mentioned, the World 2 would be like canyon-based, right? So I just thought, like these worm-like creatures, right, that can go into tunnels to catch up with you. Whereas, and so the idea, hopefully, is that the aliens that you face in each world will progress in their in their behaviors and their complexities, right? So this guy, when he hits the little tunnel, he can follow you back down, right? And just kind of go where you go, right? So that makes him a little more challenging. And also, the other thing you'll see is that he's got these spikes, kind of like Tremors, right? I love Tremors, So this is part of the inspiration, I think, was Tremors for this. Obviously, temp art. I mean, there's just something I slapped together really quick, so ignore that. But just imagine, like this worm creature with these, spikes that you do not want to touch, right? But you can see when he hits the ground, he kind of tucks in and changes position. So the implication here is that you can squish him, but only when he is in between, right? And as you see in this level, I kind of made it in a very, oh crap, whoops, I screwed that up, and I just took a hit there. Oh, come on. There, let me get up here. So let me time this right. Go, 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 go. Okay, that's a little closer than it should have been. But yeah, as you can see here, there's no way for me to squish him because there's no room, right? It's very finite in this situation, right? So, I mean, even down below, right? If I come down here, right, I can hit him there, but obviously he's got the spikes out, so I don't want to drop on him right there. So in this case, this is just kind of a test setup that I did. So if we time this right, wait for him to get out of the way, come over here. Remember I said about the blocks? That's like a piece of lava. All right, I broke something. So he should have impacted with the lava. I probably turned off the collision for him. He should have hit the lava and died there, right? So the idea is that the lava will become a weapon for you, you know, and you have to be careful with, because if you get hit, you're still going to take damage yourself, but you can also use that as a weapon to unleash on the bad guys. So, but at this point, you can see there's no way for me to actually take him out aside from that lava. So let me go back in and fix that right now while I'm thinking about it. So let me come into my project settings, and let me double check that that was actually set to, he is set up to lava flow. Yeah, so let me switch that back on. Lava flow enemies. Alright, so let me try that again. Don't you love demos on the fly? Alright, let's bring them up here and then go like, hurry, 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 hurry. Ow. Alright, let me get him out of the way down there. Alright, try this, and now there he goes. And obviously he just turns off right now. There's no death animation. That'll come once I get the real art in there. But, so that'd be kind of a nice little tool, right? That will come in and get introduced in the second world, right? Which I think would be kind of fun. And then ultimately, what you'll see is the new aliens appearing in each world, with the exception of this guy that we introduced in the first world. He's actually an antagonist that existed in the intellectual property world, right? So this character who we introduced in the beginning, even though he's going to be a simpler enemy, right? But I want him to always be there throughout, because he is sort of always been there, you know, from the past. So I need him to keep recurring throughout, right? So the worm creature will only appear in the, you know, in the canyon world, and then we'll go on to a different creature once you go into the forest, and obviously once we get on the ship, then we're going to get to more humanoid type enemies up in there. But with the exception of this creature, which obviously is not a scorpion, that's placeholder, but that one will follow you throughout. But the cool thing is that the aliens progress in the complexity, right? So if you remember this guy, all he does is he just sits there and waits for you to break his little contact area, and he just charges and then turns and waits for you and charges. And he just does the left and right charge, right? Whereas this one, he's doing the left and right charge, right? The difference is that whereas the first guy, he gets toggled, right? He's stationary and doesn't come to life until you come into range. Whereas the worm, as you saw, he's constantly patrolling really fast. Depending on the level, I'll change the speeds, right? But he's doing that, and also he's in essence invulnerable. You cannot mess with him unless he's at a turn pivot point. And we have the benefit of also going into tunnels, right? So that gives him more room, right? It's not one of those things you just ignore him, because if you try and go to a different area, he may still follow you there. And then that's going to be the situation in the third world, in the jungle. Then we'll have a creature that's much more, I mean, for lack of a better term, more monkey-like, right? So it can, you know, climb up and pursue you. So that's going to be much more of a dogged enemy, you know. And we'll still have this first world enemy who's going to pop up occasionally, but it's going to be less of a factor, more of a nuisance, I think, more than anything, once you get past the second world. But we'll always still kind of be there at the worst time, right? So if you're trying to escape the monkey-like alien creature and you come face to face with this guy, right, you know, boom, he can still get you, and you're going to be pissed. You know, it's like the crab creature is now doing me damage while I'm trying to evade the monkey. And then obviously when you get to the ship, right, and then you're going to have a much more intelligent foe, right, who's going to be able to sort of like move around the ship and follow you much more so. And we'll have weapons, right? Excuse me. I probably not for these first 3 worlds. I probably not have the enemies shooting at you. It will just be chase you down kind of enemies. But once you get in the ship, that changes, and then you get the enemies that can actually fire at you. I'll work out the balance on that obviously as I go, but hopefully that will play out nicely. So, just a nice progression in difficulty, I think. So, so that's the first section. I'll give you another demo of that guy. Whoops, let me switch back. Get on my prefab. Switch back to the game controller, and then that was A, so let's switch over to B. Like so. So here's another example of these guys. Now in this case, you can see they're moving in much slower, right? Because this one, I was just trying to test the mechanics of the puzzle, right? But here's a situation where on this side, obviously I cannot get to him, right? But over here, boom. Oh, I waited too long. Bad gaming on my part. Wait, there he is. There. So you can't take him out, right? So on this side, obviously there's no room, right? You cannot, you cannot squish him. But over on this side, there's just enough room for you to get up there, wait for him to turn, boom. But any other point, if you try and land on him, you're doomed. Excuse me. And this would be an example where you can either do it one of 2 ways. You can try and take him out with the lava, or you can just get the lava out of the way and try and take him out after the fact. But either way, you have to get in here, get out of the way, and let him run into it. There you go. So even if the lava would have missed, you would have had the benefit of being able to get over here, right? And just hang on the wall and wait for him to come over and drop on him if you want to be taking him out. And so the other thing too is we also have the ability, oops, let me wait. There you go. To do a left and right as well. So it's not just the up and down, it could also be a left and right kind of thing. Oops, that was clumsy. Far enough to trigger it. And I have a little dead zone here, right? At first it was like, if there's not a space in there and there's a crossover, he'll get like stuck and it'll just like do this spastic twitch thing. But if I come over here far enough, that'll trigger him. Over here far enough, triggers him. There. So I just stay in the middle. So, the way I'm anticipating to do this is, because once again, we're talking progression, right? So in the first one, the alien, the World 1 alien can only do left and right, right? Whereas the World 2 alien will have the ability to sort of like jump around, right? But only to 2 different little portals, right? I don't want him to be able to like bounce all over, because I want to save that for the 3rd world alien. And that one will be able to just, like a monkey, right, scale up and keep coming after you, right? So it's not one of those things where this one, if you don't want to deal with them, right, you can just do your bit, right, and avoid them. Let me get him out of the way here. There. So let's say whatever I need to get over there, I got out of the way, and I don't mess with him, right? And he's dead to me at this point. I know if I keep progressing onward, he's not going to touch me, right? I don't get the points, but then I also don't get the damage. But in the next world, that's not going to be the option, because they're going to still be able to keep pursuing you. So that's what I'm talking about. Alien progression. So hope that makes sense. All right. So, and let's see, I think you saw a little bit of lava stuff there. So let me see if there's anything else I can talk about in terms of new stuff. This is section 10. Test old. Oh, okay. And then, of course, then I started talking about the bonus room stuff. So, excuse me. All right. Let me find a good example here. Yeah. So, obviously, this is just a temp-free character that I found available. Just placeholder, but it gets the point across. Originally, I was toying with this idea, and let me see, I'm going to have to adjust this manually. I don't have it set up, but the idea would be, when you unlock one of those hidden areas, right, you have like this little tunnel or a star or some kind of indicator to let you know, hey, there's a little, hidden world here, and you go in here and you have like this, and you don't know, kind of like Downwell. You go into little side rooms, or in this case, you go into a room, more like Spelunky, I guess, and you don't know what you're going to face, right? Hopefully it's a shop, if you're looking to try and refuel your power up or your health, or it could be just one of these ones where it's, so this is actually probably more likely because the power-ups I've knocked down to 3, and this one was kind of like an earlier concept, where I thought there might be more, which this is kind of like redundant and not necessary. So this is probably going to be much more of a likely scenario. Excuse me. So then you come down, and then you just, and I'm not going to do anything like Spelunky where you can rob the guy. I love that component. You know, that's it's always hysterical to watch. We try and steal the power up and get the heck out of dodge, but to me that's going to complicate stuff because the character doesn't follow you. And what I want is a coin progression for you to try and like rack up the coins, you know. So rather than steal the items. And then the other thing, sometimes you'll face a room like this one, right? Which, actually, why is that? Oh, it should be further down, unless I didn't save it. Let me lower him like so. Like that. Alright, so this one would be one where, actually let me try and get this put in. I'll dial this in if I can. Game controller. The one thing I have to do is adjust the camera position and the player, which would happen through code, but I don't have that set up yet. But I can at least show you the gist of it. So if I drop him in there, like so, and then I gotta move the player up to, I think, 24. I think that's right. And then what I do is I take the camera and the follow, and I just turn that off completely. The camera controller, which I think, yeah, you guys saw I was using Cinemachine, right? If you guys remember way back when I was, you know, back when I was streaming before, I was using Cinemachine, and I just got too frustrated by it because it was too hard to kind of control dynamically. It works great if it's a plug-and-play scenario, but you know, kind of like the stuff I was facing with the Corgi, where you know when I needed it, when it does A, B, or C incredibly well, but I needed to do D, and that's when you start getting into the nightmares. And for the case here with Cinemachine, you know, I mean, honestly, all I need this camera to do is to go up and down, right? And because Cinemachine targets the character so precisely, I had a situation where if I reposition the character, right, to the right, which you may need to for like the bonus rooms, the Cinemachine would jump, right? And I had no way of sort of like toggling that on and off cleanly. So, long story short, I ended up writing just my own little simple LERP script just to do a follow along. You know, because in the end, Cinemachine is great, but in my case, it was, you know, my proverbial phrase I love saying, you know, it was using a Ferrari to deliver Domino's pizzas. Really overkill. So what I did was, and this is mainly just code I found, right? This is not anything I threw together, you know, specifically myself, but just, you know, a very simple LERP function that just follows your position. I added a little boost, so that way it's not like precise on the player, but kind of goes up a little bit, because I want there to be more headroom than I do down below. I think it's better to see what's above you versus what's down under you, generally speaking. So once I did that, as you saw the follow, it's working pretty cleanly now, and I don't have the issue of Cinemachine where it throws the camera off to the side when I don't want it to. So for this one, I think I can start in the center, and then that, in this case, in the bonus rooms, I don't want it to follow at all. I'm just going to have it hard-coded position, so I think it's like 15 is the position I want. We'll see. I might have to adjust that, but you get the idea. Boom. There you go. All right, so then you appear in one of these rooms, and you can just go through there, and in a moment, you'll see the world shake, and that's his way of telling you that the lava, oh crap, is about to rise, right? So this is going to be kind of fun, and almost like a precursor to what ends up becoming like the boss round anyways, right? So this would be sort of like an early introduction, and as long as you don't get greedy, and as long as you're not slow, you can clear this with no problem, right? And I have one little gap there just to make it interesting. There. So here, boom, like that, and there, you would be able to get out, which I don't have an exit here yet, but obviously it would be available here later on. And then, of course, you can take your damage. Boom, and then one more. Bye-bye. So, there you go. So, that gives you an idea of what, you know, and it'd be fun because, you know, if you, the first time you come into this room, I think it'd be interesting because you're just going to go, oh, cool, right? You know, you're just kind of like casually collecting this stuff, right? And you go, wait, what was that? And you look and you go, oh, crap, oh, crap, oh, crap, right? And you get out of the room, right? So you get inoculated. You learn the hard way that it's like you cannot just kind of take your time in there. You need to get the goodies and get out. So those are going to be the two main bonus rooms. I'm toying with the idea of doing a third that would be more of just like throwing a bunch of baddies at you, but I'm not sure if that is as much a reward as just having a room that throws a bunch of coins at you, because part of the complexity is just getting to these bonus rooms, right? They're not going to be, whereas Downwell, they're like right there on the sides, right? I want mine to be more like you have to earn it by getting into a tight space, right? And getting to it is the reward, right? So once you're there, then you either get, the market guy, or, you get the room full of coins, just to give you a nice big boost. And here you go. You guys can talk amongst yourselves as I blow you up there. There you go. So, having said that, let me see if I can show you. There's not much to see. I think just by loading it up, you probably got the idea of it, but I might as well just try. So let me come back to my game controller, and I will throw what I believe is the correct one. No, that's not right. Sorry. Bonus room. Yeah, this guy. So I'll throw bonus room C in there. In this case, I need to drag him over, and this is what I found. This is what was really breaking the Cinema Machine big time, was when I dragged the guy over here, it wanted so hard. It was so hard-coded, the idea that it always had to center the player, and I could not simply find a way to tell Cinema Machine, no, I just want you to center the Y. Don't worry about X, right? X is just the full screen. There's no left and right motion, and Cinema Machine's like, okay, snap. No, just stay centered. Okay, snap. And I went, okay. And Cinema Machine goes bye-bye. So, let's see if that's in the right place. Yeah, it was close enough. All right. And then, of course, as I talked about here, I just, what I'll do is I'll just dynamically turn off the script. And that was the other thing, too, was the fact that, when I would come back into the other world, you exit this, and the player would appear back where he started. That would be the situation where Cinema Machine would snap to it. And it's like, no, I hated that. So, anyways, this guy can talk to you and just kind of go, hey, And originally, I was going to think about the fact that I had, like, food, right? You're collecting food for your own nourishment. And then he's like, hey, I'm hungry. I could take some of that food. But I thought it'd be more interesting to do a dual collection kind of thing. And this is a recent idea. So, this is not in stone. I may change this. But the mindset I have right now is I'm going to have two different things. I'll have food and gems. This dude is all about the gems, right? Even though there's lava coming, I don't know. There's lava coming, but he's got a way to exit out of here. I think he just wants to get lots of gems and then get himself out and escape. I don't know. Anyways, so he'll trade you gems. And then, so the benefit of doing that, right, and one of the reasons I did that is because that gives me a third thing, to purchase. Because originally, before, when I had just the food as the collectible item, right, in this room, all I had was you could restore your health, right? You get like 5 hits, right? 4 or 5 hits, whatever I decide on that one. Right now it's 5. So you can restore that health, or you can refill your power-up, whatever your power-up that you currently have, right? So I only have 2 things to buy from this guy, and I just kind of went, I need more, There needs to be something else to purchase. And that's when I kind of went, okay, if I go to the 2, for lack of a better term, 2 currency method, right? And it's just kind of cool that it separates it so you want the food for yourself because that replenishes you. And then I can do sort of the thing, if you collect enough of the food, then you'll automatically get some of your health back too, right? You can gain a new life by collecting enough, And then that allows me to also add a lot more frequency, because I don't know if you guys noticed in the setup I had right now, I was really kind of limiting the amount of food that appeared because I knew that was going to be currency for this market thing, right? And I didn't want, I'm trying to figure that out, and I don't want you to be able to collect too much food too fast because then you can always buy this stuff, right? And I want to keep it more balanced. So by changing up into a food and gems, the food will allow you to collect for yourself and the gems for him, right? So that means it can be sprinkled much more frequently, and it gives you more incentive to go into other areas, right? And that was the other reason too, is the fact that why would I venture into the hard areas right? If it's just going to reward me with more food and there's plenty of food out here. But no, maybe that's where you're going to find the gems, right? Or maybe I do something where the food you find there is not just a +1 food, but maybe like a +5 or 10, right? It's a larger reward, you know. So that's my mindset. That's what I'm thinking of to sort of incentivize people to go into areas that will most likely kick their butt, right? And not just bypass it, because there is a good reward and upside to doing that. That's the goal. So, and right now, and I have this set up where you can't accidentally hit it. You have to do double jump to hit it, and right now it does register it, right? Like that. So I figured this is a nice setup, because even if you're just jumping around, right, you're not going to hit one by accident. I mean, you really have to be conscious about doing it. And then, obviously, when you're ready to exit, you can just go up the wall and get the heck out of Dodge, right? So that works like it should. But I think that's a good idea, right? I know some of the other ones are do it with just like a secondary button press to pick it up, but I mean, I think having the double jump is a nice mechanic, just simplified. And then, of course, I would have the information up here if I start this over again. The information would be up here. It would tell you what you're jumping to get, you know, and how much it would cost you, right? Make sense? All right. If none of this makes sense, tell me right now. Okay, must make sense then, because you guys stayed silent. Good, that's great news. Thanks. All right, hey, I'm cracking myself up, so that's all that matters. I'm having a good time. Nice to be back. All right. Okay, so let's see. So we talked about that. We talked about those rooms where you can refill your power-up. So let's talk about actual power-ups. Right now, new hair, new game. How's it going? Oh, that's right. I didn't have the haircut, did I? God, has it been that long? Yeah. No, I didn't even get a haircut. I got old and it fell out. But yeah, Below the Stone, welcome, buddy. Thanks, man. It's nice to be out of hibernation again. It's going well. This is the new and improved fun time here. Happens to the best of us, doesn't it, though? Yeah. Oh, God. I'm feeling it today, too. I mean, this is a good thing I'm not doing one of those standing desk things. I'm sitting down, because I'm dumb enough that I went out yesterday, and I found on Meetup there's like one of these touch football groups, right? And I can't resist, man. I go out there, and I'm playing, and like half these guys are literally half my age, right? You know, so, you know, they go and we play for a couple hours and they walk off the field and they're all bouncing off the field going, all right, guys, see you next week. And I'm just like, where's my walker? I can't make it back to my car. You know, just wheel me, please. Just push me towards my car. Yeah. I don't know. It seems like for some reason when you get old, it just gets harder. I don't know. Is there a cause and effect relationship there? Anyway, so you missed the big tour. I was just going through, showing off the new demo. Where's my walker? Where's my walker? Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? Not to that point yet, thank God. Not yet. So this is the new demo. I'll fire it one more time, since it's been a little while since I played it. You know what? Actually, rather than play it again, let's see. I did close it. Oh, that was stupid of me. Let me bring it up one more time. So I threw together a demo for the convention that I had here in Las Vegas a few weeks ago called the Level Up Expo, which I totally love. It's a great venue. And I put together a demo and initially made it way too hard, but eased it up after a Friday night test, and then brought it back Saturday and had a bunch of people try it out. And this is one of the guys he's one of 8 that actually beat the game. And he was the 8th and final. And it's funny, he was actually sitting in the booth next to me, helping out one of the friends that was running the booth there. And the whole time he's watching other people play it. And he goes, I'm going to come over there and play it, man. And I didn't know, you don't know who's like a true hardcore gamer and who's not. But I was telling him, he goes, yeah, I'm going to come over there, I'm going to beat that game. It's like, okay. And then he's like, anyone beat it yet? It's like, no, not yet. He goes, okay. And then someone finally does, right? And then I go, oh, there's one, right? And then 2, 3, 4. And I just, every time I come by and go, oh, 6 people have beaten it now, right? And he's like, finally, he just like, that's it. When it got to 7, he goes, all right. He comes over and he just plays it for like half an hour. And this is the final progression for him. You know, so he's buzzing through here. So yeah, it's been ages since you've seen it. And as I was telling everyone that was watching before, I did introduce the ability to wall jump. You can now cling onto the wall. That came out of necessity because the Android, unfortunately, was not, on lower devices, was not performing well enough to prevent him from getting himself embedded into the sides of walls sometimes. So I had inadvertent wall climbing, and my choice was to either redo all my code and try and improve that for low-end devices, or just bite the bullet and say, hey, guess what, the game has wall jumping. And that's what I went with. But, so, and you can see the sections here, the section where it's 7 of 10 now, right? And you can see this line right here where the grass, you know, the tile doesn't kind of line up, which obviously I'll fix that once I get the real art in there. But that's where it crosses over, right? And we kind of go into a new section here. You see it should change here in just a second. Yeah, there's 8. So the trigger is about midway through. It's when the next level actually appears, you know. And for this demo, I put together 10 levels. And it, you know, different people took different amounts of time. It depends on how much of a completionist they want to be. In this case, I think I mentioned he took 3 minutes to beat the whole game, this demo. The platforming is nice. Can see you took advantage of the wall jumping with the level design. Thanks, man. Yeah, I had to. As I mentioned, and this is me just not... I'm glad I discovered it when I did, right? You know, before I went to... I mean, I'm days away from the Level Up convention, right? And it's like, oh, I need to put on my Android so I can show people on the tablet, right? And that's when I discovered that issue, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I make the change, and that's when I discover all the levels I had made, which was 10 at that point, were completely negated. As soon as you had wall climbing, then you could defeat all of it. So I had to start over. So these 10 levels were made frantically in just a matter of a few days, you know. And it was not well tested. I mean, I got to the point where I could beat it pretty well, but that was because I've been playing the game way too much and too often. But it's just, you know, it's fun to see the other people play it. And like I said, that's one of the 8 people that beat it right there. So, yeah. And, I mean, you know, the irony is that the bug that came up in the Android version, which I was, you know, I was inventing swear words when I saw that, right? Because I just knew that I was doomed, right? But the irony is the fact that I think it made a better game, you know? Especially this character, right? Once I talk about the character and his identity, you'll understand it's kind of like, oh, okay, that I could see that happening anyway. So it plays well with the character. So, you know, as much as I put my foot down and said I'm not doing this, I'm glad I'm glad I was wrong, because I think it's gonna make a more fun game. Changes the dynamics, but I think for the better. So. Yeah, so, let's see, and I showed you that. Oh, yeah, so I was going to talk about power-ups. Let me put everything back in place, if I can select him. So we put him back, oops. Put him back at 0, put him back at -6. Oops, was it -5? I think it was -6. Excuse me, alright. Are you considering checkpoints or just a you die, start over kind of deal? Excuse me. I thought about that. So, great question. So, kind of C, all the above. How about that? What I'll do is, and I think Downwell doesn't do this, but I know Spelunky does this. And I think what I'll do is, as I mentioned, for you guys who are here, I'm going to have 3 play modes. I'm going to have casual, normal, and hardcore, right? And the casual is going to ease up on some of the difficulty, right? But they're all going to have the same mechanics, right? In a nutshell, 5 hits and you're gone, right? If you take 5 hits, game resets, right? But, you know, you will have the opportunity in these little bonus rooms, right, that you discover, right, kind of like Downwell and the others, to repurchase health, right? So if you took some damage, you can spend some coin and get your health back up, right? So in theory, you can replenish yourself as you go along if you're fortunate enough to come up with one of the rooms, and if you were diligent enough to collect enough gems or coins, whatever you use, to purchase the health, you know. And then what I'll have is there's going to be ultimately 4 worlds, and once again, following the textbook, these other guys, of course, because it's a beautiful layout, right? 4 different environments, right? In each environment, each one of these worlds will have 4 individual sections in them, right? If you manage to complete a world, right, and you die, you'll start at the first world. You will have the option of continuing from the second world, but the catch will be that it's sort of like a empty victory, because I will let you get, you can start from that point and try to unlock the next world and then unlock the next world, but you will never get the full scope of the game, because if you do that, if you bypass the whole game experience, you won't get the rewarded videos. You'll just get a congratulations, you beat this, but if you want to see the full experience, play it from the beginning, right? So hopefully that will allow you to, if you want to pick up from the middle of the game, you'll be able to do that, especially if you want to practice, right? I think that'd be one of the key things. My goal, right, is that people will unlock the new worlds and just come back and play through those worlds a few times to learn where all the bodies are buried, so to speak, right? So they get really comfortable with it, and then once they're really ready, then they'll come back to the beginning and try and play the whole game through proper, right? Because now they've educated themselves and trying get fully up to speed, and then get rewarded with and then that's the only way you're going to get the high score stuff too, right? If you if you start in the middle of if you start at world 2 or 3 or 4, then you will not get the high score table and all that kind of stuff. You'll get points shown, but it really won't go towards anything, and you won't get any additional unlocked content. If that makes sense. I like it. I like the wall jump. Okay. Yeah. So it's almost like a roguelike in that way. Glad you joined the genre. and you're more right than you know. I don't have procedurally generated, right? The levels will be pre-made, but the levels will come up in a randomized order, right? So you're always going to be facing a different layout. So even if you get comfortable with each one of these sections, let me load these up as I show you. So here's, as you saw in that demo, there was 10, and I preloaded them for the demo in a very specific order, just because I only had literally days to put that all together. But ultimately, when I get the game done, yeah, all this stuff is going to happen dynamically. So every time you start the game, you will not know which level you're going to be facing next, which section you're going to be facing next, because each one of these will be floppable. And also, if I can do it, maybe have different versions too, or have the different exits, so it will be compatible with any other level that's above or below it. So yeah, so look at that. I fumbled my way into roguelike land. How about that, man? You proud of me? Oh, so yeah, I'm not sure where I was at before in terms of the enemies and stuff like that, but let's see. Very proud. Do you have an idea how long you expect a world to take? Is it like a 10-minute thing? Half hour, hour? Good question. So, the short answer is, the better answer is ultimately, the demo I showed you, right? It took him 3 minutes to get through all 10 sections. I want, because if you think about that, that is only 1/16 of the game, right? Because there's 4 worlds, each world will have 4 sections. So that means 16 of those. I don't want each section to go that long, right? I don't want each section to take 3 minutes. Part of it is because also I don't know if I'm going to have enough content, depending on how it goes with the guys that I got helping me out to make the levels. If they get inspired and they produce just a metric ton of content, then I may do that. But I also have to figure out what the balance is too, because if you throw too many levels at them, no one will be able to complete it, right? So it's a combination of, I need there to be tons of gameplay, right, that you're pushing through, right, so it feels rewarding and doesn't feel too brief. I don't want to get the 1-star ratings kind of going, I beat the game in 5 minutes and I'm done, this game sucks, man. I don't want that, but But at the same time, I also don't want people going, this game's impossible, right? Now, no matter how many times I've played it 42 hours and I can't beat it because it's just too hard to get through a section, and repeat. So, ideally, just off the top of my head, I'm going to say maybe like I have 6 or 7 sections, so that dials it down to maybe like 2 minutes. But that's going to be trial and error kind of thing. So I would love to see, 2 minutes, like I said, 4 sections, that's 8, 16, 32. So we're taking at least a half an hour to beat the game if you're just rushing through it, right? Depending on if you take your time, right? Because there won't be time factor on this, right? You can take your time to try and be more of a completionist. So at least half an hour, up to an hour, depending on how well you play and that kind of stuff. Game devs have it harder than tightrope walkers when it comes to making balances. Yeah, you're right. Because at least with a tightrope walker, right? If you screw up, you fall, you hit the ground, and it's over, right? At no point do people walk up to you, after you've smacked into the ground and say, that was really weak. You were barely on that thing for like 30 seconds before you fell off. And I'm really disappointed in you. So you're right. So true. We have to like suffer through. Yeah, you have to suffer through all that. So anyway, so yeah, that's gonna be the big test. That will be obviously once I get all the content and I can judge how much is there and try and balance it. But yeah, you're right. It's a total fine line. I mean, I don't want to have checkpoints, right, per se. I want to have enough hidden areas that you can hopefully progress, right? And I mean, God, I keep harping, but this is so true. Spelunky and Downwell are so good at this. They have that balance so nicely. I think even Downwell more so, right? The fact that you can find the market or you sometimes don't, right? And it just seems to come in at the perfect time. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm assuming that's all procedurally generated. So it's not like I don't think they look at your health and kind of go, uh-oh, maybe we should throw him one, right? I don't think it's that way. I think it's just more of random, but it just seems to feel very perfectly balanced. Wow, that was pretty weak. Maybe you should have balanced better, man. Yeah. I'm gonna, you can't hear me now because you're road pavement, but you're just, road guilt. But I'll tell your family, right? I'll just say that, hey, I saw it and, I thought it was a valiant effort, but I really think your dad, your son, really dropped the ball. I was not really impressed. He had the stick. He didn't balance well. So, I mean, he kind of asked for it, right? Sorry, this is getting morbid as hell. I'm going to just drop that right now. So, yeah. All right. We're just going to go ahead and, move past that because that's bleak, man. Morbid. Yeah. I mean, even for your, your edgy meme on your Discord, I mean, that's, right up there with some of those postings that you guys have. Not that I read them all the time. No, not that I read them. Okay, maybe. Okay, here. Catch some bombs. Oh man, now I'm totally off my game. Where am I at? Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing here? That close. Nice. All right. So that's it. Yeah, that is the target. That's, and I mean, I feel better now. The downtime for me was really good because that allowed me, rather than just sit here, I mean, imagine if I'd have been streaming this, right, where I was trying to try and decipher all this stuff, and if I just, an hour of this. That doesn't really make for good streaming, right? I mean, unless I'm trying to recreate that scene from, what was it, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, right? Where Steve Martin's just waiting. Come on, man. Come on. The boss is just looking at it, kind of going. Yeah, no. Not really entertaining. So, as much as I hate that I did shut down for as long as I did, it was time well spent. I think that was in the end, I think it was a good choice. So, now I'm going, what do I do? Oh yeah, I keep trying to come back to this. Great, great content. Well, only reason I asked was because I feel like when you measure things in time, it sort of puts everything to scale. Yep. I concur. So, hopefully it'll be fun balancing it, and hopefully I can get that. And that's, I probably mentioned this before you jumped on, but I was talking about the fact that I'm going to be doing WebGL versions once I start getting art in place, so I can start getting proper feedback from you guys. But I'm also entertaining the idea, because I'm actually going to venture off to LA in a couple of weeks and go to E3 and start knocking on doors and maybe talk to some epic kind of people out there and see if anyone is interested in the game. I'll spill the beans for them and see if they want to toss me anything. But ultimately, I'll probably line something up either with Epic or with Steam and ultimately try and do an early access, right, on there. And so hopefully that will give me a ton of feedback. And I know it's a dangerous game to play because I know, man, nothing drives me more nuts. And you look at Steam, right, and you see a game and it's like, oh, this looks pretty. This is pretty. Look at this, the graphics. That's kind of cool. And you watch the videos that autoplays. You kind of go, oh, that looks pretty good. You look down and it goes, it's early access. Well, okay. And you scroll down to the reviews and you see this, right? And you look at the review, it's like, oh god, what do they hate? It's like, I know the game is early access, but it's buggy and feels unfinished. Early! What part of early do you not understand? Every time I see that, man, I feel for whoever made that game, right? I know that. Yeah, exactly. It feels unfinished, I mean, I thought there was potential, but it feels like it's rushed, and it just feels really incomplete. And you just gotta believe that developer somewhere. It's just like he just sees his ranking drop, right? And it's got like pulling his hair out, just kind of going, it's not finished, I had that, man. I mean, a funny story similar to that. I can't remember what the show was. I can't remember. It was a TV show that I was working on, doing animation for it, and the supervisor kind of comes by unannounced, right, to see the progress. And I explained to him, it's like, okay, well, here's the context. Here's what I've got, right? Take a look at this. Now, the only thing is that this thing I haven't touched here, right? So, you can just completely ignore that, right? But, everything else is open to comment and criticism. He looks at it, and without missing a beat, he goes, well, what about that? That's not working. And the exact thing that I said, no. And to this day, I don't know if he was being funny or if he was just that much of a jerk. Because I looked at him and was kind of like, okay. So to this day, I don't know which. And I'm hoping he was just being funny, but he's such a droll guy. And it's not like he's kind of going, well, what about that? No, he just said, well, what about this? And it's like, okay, are you just being a jerk trying to be funny? Or are you just like such a jerk that you didn't even freaking listen to what I just said? Part of me thinks this game is like accessed, like too early for people, like too early, I don't know what the word is, but it's like accessed early or something. I can't think of it. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, have you ever seen the video about the nail? If you haven't seen it, I mean, please, if there are any ladies out there, please don't get angry at me. But it's just it's a universal kind of thing. But maybe I shouldn't do it because it's not about the nail. Yeah. Can I show this? Hopefully no one will get angry, but I just, this is universal. This is not a guys versus girl kind of thing. Wait, I don't know if you can hear this. Hold on. Let me momentarily. You know what? I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna let this go. You can Google this, right? I won't subject you guys. It's not about the nail, right? 18.5 million views. So you know, but there you go. If you Google that, watch on YouTube, you know, you'll get my point. Yeah. Even my wife quotes it. So there you go. All right. So I was gonna go into, and I keep going off these tangents, which I love. You know, I love going off these things. I don't know if it's good viewing or not. I'm sorry if it's not. I'm sorry. I promise, if this totally sucks for you guys, how about this? Double your money back guarantee. Whatever you guys just paid me to watch this stuff, I will give you twice of it back. Yeah, I can make that happen. But all right, it's entertaining for me. But yeah, I do appreciate you guys hanging out. But I think what I'm gonna do is I am gonna talk about the power-ups, right? So I'd love to get some feedback. And there you go. Speaking of feedback, there's your bombs. I'd love to get some feedback on what you guys think about what I'm thinking about for power-ups. But how's this for tease? I'm gonna do a restroom break real quick. It's about time. I'm an old man. The fact I've held out this long is actually impressive. But hang tight. Let me just do a quick run, and then I will talk about that kind of stuff. And this is a little too relatable. There you go. Just Google. It's not about the nail. That's all. That's it. It's comedy gold. It really is comedy gold. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let me just duck out for a quick second. I'll come back, and I'm gonna tell you all about the power-ups I have in mind, and you guys can offer your feedback and tell me what you think. See if I'm on the right path. So yeah. So hang tight, and I'll be right back. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Blowstone, be right back. No worries, man. Yeah, that's cool. Go do what you gotta do. All right. Yeah. Cool. You like that? I think that's gonna be my calling card, right? You know that, like, I'm coming back. Sort of like when if you go to, like, the theater and they dim the lights, right, to let you know that it's time to go take your seat, right? So I think when I come back, I'll just do, like, a bombing run right before I actually come back on. That's how you know that I'm just about back. All right. Okay. So what I was going to talk about, and of course my buddy Blowstone is always a very chatty kind of guy, which I do appreciate, but you guys can speak up, offer your thoughts on this, because I do I'd love some feedback on this. So what I'm thinking about here now is power-ups, you know. And so here's my thought. Right, I have first one would be like a sonic pulse. Right, as I said, the character's never going to be armed with a weapon. There's no guns, right? At least not for our player, right? But I do want a way to fight back, at least in a limited fashion, right? So I thought one would be a nice, like a sonic pulse, right? And there's a couple ways I can do that. One I was thinking of just like a radial sonic shot, right? Just any enemy that's in that territory, boom, gets taken out. Or conversely, do more like a directed one. So whichever way the character is facing, you know, the sonic shot goes in that direction. So right, left. So it's like a front assault on an enemy character. You know, or it could be a thing where maybe if the power-ups are upgradable over time, then it'd be a situation where it could expand. So, but as soon as I introduce that concept, then we introduce the idea that through progression, the game would become slightly easier, right? Because once you unlock these new abilities with these features, and if it's something that does carry over from game to game, you know, that means that the weapon becomes more powerful. So, I mean, that's, you know, that's something I'm still hemming and hawing over. I'm not sure how I want to go that direction. And, you know, I mean, power-ups in general, too. You know, I mean, I'm looking at all the other games out there and trying to look at the pros and cons and the different approaches. But right now what I'm thinking is that if you start the game from the beginning, right, you start with no power-up, right? But once you complete your first section, you know, your first quadrant, the quarter of a full world, then you get that option to choose one of the power-ups, right? And, you know, depending on which one you do, right, which one you choose, you can kind of dictate how your gameplay may go. And then you have the issue of how many times you can use it, right? I mean, the options are either it's a set number, right, that you expend and you run out, or it's something that recharges. The recharges I'm a little scared of, just because that means that because I don't really have a time element, I'm not planning on doing a time element. It could be one of those things that you could do a quasi creep and save kind of approach, right? Where if you just like crawl your way through it, you just know that it always regenerates. So it's more likely that I'll probably go with a fixed number, right, that you could replenish in one of the hidden markets. And then maybe that's something too, right? Rather than the idea of having an upgrade for like the Sonic Pulse, having it like become more powerful, it could be something where you could upgrade the number of charges, right? And I think some of the other games do that too, right? And have it max out pretty quickly, so it can't be too much of an insane upgrade. But, you know, same thing for health too. You start off with maybe like 4 hits and go up to 5, or maybe you have 5 that go up to 6. Once again, that's all going to be trial and error. I'm going to have to figure that out over time. But I think that's probably going to be the more likely path. But, you know, any thoughts you guys have and want to, like, tell me, either here or on Discord. If you guys want to hit me up on Discord after the fact, I'm all ears. Open to all input for sure. So that's Sonic Pulse. That would be one that's more of like an offensive, quasi-offensive kind of weapon. I guess I won't know until I actually start implementing it, and I'll do some testing here probably in the next few streams to try and figure out what's the better approach. Do I want to do a radius kind of attack, or do I want to be a focused forward attack? So we'll play by ear and we'll see what works better. My guess is I'll say this now. My guess is going to be the shooting forward is going to be the better weapon, just because I think the radius may give an unfair advantage of taking out enemies that are in territory you haven't gotten to yet. I think that may be an unfair cheat. So, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's one power-up, is Sonic Pulse. Next one I'm thinking about is a power shield, right? So the idea that if you're in a section that you know that you always take damage in, right? It's a brief invulnerability that will allow you to plow through a section, right? So if you have a couple of iterations of it, 3 or 4 iterations, it'd be nice to know either for a section that you know that you always screw up in is a safety thing, Or if it's a situation where you totally screw something up and you're about to plummet into lava or some other trap, and you know you're about to hit, and you can hit it like right there at the last second, right? And, you know, save yourself so you don't lose that health. You lose the, you know, I mean, it's better to lose one of these power shields than it is one of your health, right? Much more so, I think. You know, because the health is only, the power shield would only be a temporary kind of protection anyways, right? It's going to go away on you. You know, but just have not like a shield that takes when damage goes away. I think it's better just have something that leaves you invulnerable, totally invulnerable for a fixed amount of seconds. Brief, but maybe that's something too that might expand over time, right? Maybe it's something that you can expand the number and also expand the duration. But once again, that's going to go into the testing phase. Don't know yet. That's going to be trial and error. You know, and you guys can offer your thoughts, especially once I start getting the stuff plugged in, and you guys can tell me what you think does and does not work about it. So that is Power Shield. The next idea I had for a power-up would be a reset feature, right? So it'd be one of those things that if you're playing through, right, and I mean, this would only work if you had more than one health, right? This wouldn't work. I probably wouldn't do this in a game over situation. Well, maybe. I might think about that. I guess that might not be too bad either way. But the idea would be like if you're in a section, right? And like, let me just fire one up here. What do I have loaded up? Do I have this set up correctly? No, I don't. Let me just switch this back to where I had it before. It's not pretty, but it'll get better. Okay. Oops. I did not turn the camera script back on, did I? Nope. All right. And we'll put that -5. There he goes. All right, now it should work okay. Snap. There. All right, so like in this situation, right, it could be one of those things that, you know, if you're like, for whatever reason, you get in a stuck situation, right? Well, here's a good example, right? He comes here. Now I'm screwed, right? I either have to take damage, right, or not progress, right? But if I had a reset, that would actually, if you do that, and what it does is it just resets that level you're at, right? So, and you know, that way you can avoid taking damage on a hit, right? Or if it's a situation where you're trying to get something that's like a, you know, I may have a feature where it's only available for a certain amount of time, and if you miss it, it's gone, and then the reset will allow you to have another chance at it. So, it just, I think that'd be kind of a nice way to have a do-over feature. Right, for whatever reason, either you get in a situation like this where you're totally stuck, or you have a situation where one section that you know how to do, but you've gone off on the rails, and you're just like, man, if I could just back up, I could do this right. You know, and if you get stuck or something like that, right, it just pings you right back, and then everything resets, right? With the exception of any coins or any gems that you collected or food you collected at that point, I think I would pull those off the table, and maybe even take out the bad guys. I don't know. That'll be a trial and error kind of thing too. I'm not sure if the enemies would just reset, or if it'd be a situation if you squished them, they would stay squished if you did a reset. You know, not like a true braid, right, where everything just goes right back to the way it was. You know, it may be a quasi back to where it was. I'm not sure. All right, so that's reset. A gem magnet. That's pretty standard in most of these games too. And that's another reason why I thought about also splitting it up between food and gem, because the idea of the food being pulled in by magnet, right, just seemed like it would take a lot of the fun out of the exploration, right? You know, if you could get all the food without even going near it, right, depending on the range of the magnet that attracts the food, I think the game would lose a lot in terms of, you know, people just not even bother going into areas. So, but there's nothing wrong with having the gem stuff, I think. You know, so the gems is what you'd use in the market to upgrade, you know, and repair your health, refill a power up, that kind of thing. So I think a gem magnet, now that's something also, that would be something that I have to debate. Whereas the other ones, you know, the reset, the power shield, and the sonic pulse are a activated item, right? You hit it, fire it off, and it goes off, and you deduct one usage of it. Whereas the gem, that might be something that stays active the whole time. So, not sure. And then finally, for power-ups, I thought about just having, you know, a health restore, right? So, you know, and because I'm also going with the idea, kind of like some of the other games, right? You only have one power up at a time, right? It's not like you have all these power ups waiting, right? You have to choose which one. So if I have one that's like a health restore, right, and you know maybe it's one of those things that you could actually have it with multiple restores, right? So if you were just someone that wants to beat the game come hell or high water, right? You don't care about all the other bonuses stuff. You just really want it, and then obviously the health restore would probably be the stronger candidate, right? But I may punish you more, right, in terms of final score, right? You know, and that could be a factor too. Obviously, I'll give super bonuses if you can complete the game with no power-ups, right? If you could do it in a truly clean fashion, right? Lots of rewards for that. So for the, you know, for the for the streamers or stuff like that want to play the game in the future, you know, obviously being able to plow through it without any power-ups is going to be a big motivation, right? You know, especially when they get further through and they start getting nervous, you know. But you know, so I probably have something that like, just don't use them at all, or if you know, the more you use it, the less of the bonus you get towards the end. So discourage you to try and discourage you from using as few power-ups as you need. So so that's it. That's it from a power-ups. So anyone, if you guys want to chime in, any thoughts, I'm totally all ears. That's going to be a long time coming in terms of implementation, because this is stuff I just started fleshing out. But I think that's a decent number. I mean, that's, you know, I mean, the gems magnet, you know, that's sort of like, you know, that's sort of like an either or kind of situation. But I mean, even if I drop that one, that still gives me 4 power-ups that have usage counts, right? You know, Sonic Pulse, so that's the closest your character will come to an actual honest-to-God weapon, right? Sonic Pulse, the Power Shield, which briefly protects you, Reset if you just want to back up on that level, and then Health Restore, yeah, and then maybe the Magnet. I don't know, the Magnet may be one of those things that maybe I make that a permanent. I don't know. You know, because that would definitely be a situation if I do that, and if it's something that you can upgrade the radius of that magnet over time with power-ups, and that's something that sticks, right? It doesn't reset. I don't know. I mean, that would sort of kind of make the game a little easier, maybe, but I don't know if that's such a terrible thing, because I want to reward players who keep playing the game for long periods of time, so maybe that's not a terrible thing. Don't know. That's gonna be something that'll come out over time, hopefully. So, but that's pretty much a lot of the stuff I wanted to cover. Let's see. Yeah. Wow. So that, yeah, more to that. That was 2 hours worth of me just kind of rambling through all that. So, I mean, maybe it's a circuitous way of describing it all, but it did take me 2 full hours to tell you all the stuff that I've sort of cobbled together over the last few weeks. So I guess that's a good thing, right? If it takes you 2 hours to describe everything, I guess that does mean that there's a lot of stuff coming, right? All right, and I still got this jerk. So like that, I mean, that's kind of punishing kind of thing there. Yeah. All right. And of course we have the ugly art, which I swear is temp. This is very gray box. The epitome of gray box. What else can I discuss? I'm not sure where I was before in terms of using the Corgi plugin. I'm still using some of it. Some of the stuff I really still very much love, right? Excuse me. I'm still using it for, like, you know, it's using the box collider to generate the raycasts, both horizontal and vertical. So I still got some of that stuff going on. Let me come out of this and go into here. There you go. So yeah, you can see it. Oh, I got paused, don't I? Unpause. There. Yeah. So you can see the vertical rays shooting out, and you can also see the horizontal that are only going off in his direction. 5 may be overkill, although I think actually by default I think he has like 8, but I don't think I have anything small enough. The key thing here is you want the number of, let me pause this, see if I can, yeah, you want these rays to be narrow enough that nothing can slip in between, right? And I don't think I'm gonna have anything that's gonna be small enough to go in between there, right? Or more likely in this, right? I don't think there's ever gonna be anything. So I think 5 is a good trade-off. You know, it's not an insane amount of ray casts, but I mean, it's 5 that way, 5 that way. So it's 15, I guess, total if you're counting these separately. But obviously, you know, it's a nice performance. You know, you don't get the issues that you get sometimes if you're just using collider boxes where they do miss collisions, you know, come back after the fact. It's like, oh yeah, crap, remember, like, you know, 20 milliseconds ago, yeah, I should have told you that actually he hit the wall and now he's like inside it. Yeah, for those of you that use Unity, you know that is a reality, right? You know, it's kind of like, you don't have to use raycast. Well, no, actually you pretty much really do. I mean, if you want it to perform well, you know, chances are pretty good that you're gonna have to use raycast. But having said that, that is the only thing that is using raycasts at this point. I've sort of gotten away with that because that was one of the performance issues I was getting on mobile, was because by default with the Corgi engine, everything has raycast like crazy, right? I mean, just tricked out, like, you know, and all the enemies, and especially when I had, originally I had all the levels loading, right, and displayed. Now I do a thing where I turn most of them off if they're off camera, but that was still affecting performance. And what I came to realize is the fact that I would have to try and get away from raycast as much as possible, but without affecting performance. And kind of what I'm at now. So what I've done, excuse me, is, because he had all these kind of things too, we had like a raycast that would point downward, right? And it would just look for an edge. And when it hit the, you know, when that raycast was not touching an edge, it's like, oh, there's a cliff. Let me turn around and go the other way, which is nice. But, you know, you're wasting an entire raycast just to look for, am I still touching ground? You know, which is nice for performance, but for accuracy. But I think you take a hit in actual performance. So here's my workaround. Let me see if I can, yeah, I'll just leave this running. But so here's an example character. Can I select them? Let me charge it. There we go. Oh, excuse me. All right. So I have a group, right? We start off with the enemy charging. He's the head of the group, and that just allows me to globally position it. And it doesn't really matter where it goes on the X, right? That's less of a factor. I like putting it in the center just for simplicity's sake, and it reads better, you know, when you can see it right there. But it's not as much of a factor. Obviously the Y matters, right? I want that to be in the right spot, right? So I have that, and then rather than have a raycast, right, to find edges, and because, and this is my situation too, this is beneficial for me, and this is something that I'm going to have to rethink on the beginning on the third world, where characters can traverse into whole different areas. But right now what I have is these hard-coded little empty game objects, right? So I have a left and a right, and the beauty of that is this character knows those guys, right? That's all in the script. So when it's doing a patrol, it just says if X is less than left range X, then guess what? You know, we've reached as far as we can, turn around. You know, if greater than right, then turn around. So it's a really simplistic approach of just letting it move and just checking. You know what? I can show you the script. Why not? Let's see. For him, it should be... Yep, enemy charging. Yeah. So then I do states for the character. So I have idle, pre-charging, charging, post-charge, attack, and squished. And that's mainly just to help control the animation that's going to play, as well as to make sure what states it's in if it gets hit or does hit. So obviously it starts in idle, right? And it will go into pre-charge status. It'll change into that if it's in idle, right? And that's the other reason too. That way I can't have it like go into a state too prematurely, right? But here's the determinant. You can see what I have is I have two different collider boxes. I have the collider box for him, and that will determine if he's actually hitting the player, right? That will get determined by that. But I have this super slender box, and that is its vision, right? I mean, this is normally Corgi uses a raycast to cover this, right? Which is cool because whenever the character moves, right, that raycast is like always with him, right? So whereas the Corgi is designed much more in a modular fashion, so the enemy can go wherever it wants in the playfield and always have front vision. But you now have a raycast that could be insanely long, right? And you're taking the hit off of that. Whereas with this guy, it doesn't matter where he goes, right? So if let me see if I unpause this. Oh, he's okay. He's not gonna. Actually, he's not gonna go because he's not patrolling. He's charging. But what'll happen is he's gonna stay in this position, right, until the player comes in and makes contact with that slender linear box there, and that will send him off in his direction, right? So it's just, I mean, I think it's a simpler way for a simple enemy, and I'm gonna have to rethink this once I get to the third world, of course. But at least for right now, this is saving me a lot, I think, in terms of performance. I mean, because it's such a simple thing for it to detect. So, you know, as you saw originally, right now, because I have these temp characters and there's no animation, so when the player goes into that, I keep hitting the wrong button. There it goes. So when the player actually makes contact with this box right here, right, and then it'll go, if it's in idle, then it'll actually go into pre-charge mode, right? And that's when you saw it. When right now it's ugly, but it works. So he just dips down, and that's sort of the signification. That is the indicator. How about that? There's a better word to show him doing the anticipation of the animation, right? So it's like the tuck back, and then he's going to go into the charge, right? So he does the pre-charge for the set amount of time, which is customizable too, by the way, right? You see all this pre-charge time and post-charge time. So that allows me to dynamically change, based on the animation, the character's performance. So if I want him to be slower in the earlier levels, I can just set the time here, right? And then if I need him to be faster later on, it's easy enough to tweak, right? So he goes into pre-charge and then goes into charging, and he just charges until he either hits you, right, or reaches whatever that point is, whichever comes first, right? And then he goes into, if he just reaches this point and you avoid him, then he'll go into the post-charge, right, which is like the recovery period, right? And then he just switches back to idle. Or if he strikes you, then it goes into an attacking animation, right? And then, so that would play, I do that predominantly, it's kind of an unnecessary state, but I think it's going to be beneficial because it makes sure that I know that he's doing the actual attack animation, and it also makes sure that he doesn't try and like re-attack, you know. So it'll always go from the attacking back into idle, right? And of course squished. So if you land on top of him, boom, he's squished. So, and I think it's going to be better for the performance, right? Time will tell, but I think that's going to be a lot cleaner, and because this is all I need, right? I mean, as nice as the Corgi system is, it's overkill for what this is, right? And I mean, this works fine. And let me see if, yeah, there you go. So let me come up in here, right? And you can see he's not charging yet because you can see the box here. Let me do this, right? That's the point. So I can get close without triggering him, right? See, I can do that, and he doesn't. There you go. By making that little collider box just shy, right? That's not gonna, you know, you do peekaboo, but he's not gonna charge you until it's worth it. As soon as I go right there, yep, and then he gets me, right? So, and then he's in the he goes to the recover state, and now he's back in idle mode at this point. And then, so if I do this, yeah. And then he should, okay, yeah, and then right now I have it, so once he actually does that, when he does an attack, he doesn't go back into any kind of patrol. He just kind of sits there. But in this case, that's fine for me because I could just land on him and squish him. So I think that was better. At first I had it where he would damage you and just keep going through you. But I thought it was better because if he does do the damage, that it's sort of like he got his pound of flesh, and I'm giving you the opportunity to now turn the tables, squish him, and take him out. Right? He did damage on him, but you get to kill him. So there you go. So I think that kind of like feels better when you have a chance to do that. So that's how he behaves. But let me come back in here. Let me go back into the worm and show that a little bit for him. I think this A should be a good candidate. Maybe? Let's see. Yep. Alright. So let's scroll down here. So, in this case, what I did is, and I was able to get away with hard coding on this, right? And I mean, I know any real programmer out there, right? Not a poser like me. Anyone that does this for real, they're gonna like look at this and just cringe, right? But what I've done is because I know this character, right? Let me come back into gameplay here. Because I know this character can only traverse these two areas, right? That's it. That's as far as this character is able to go, right? Between one and the other, right? Either horizontal or vertical, whatever the case may be. That's it. That's the extent of it, right? So, by doing that, that allows me to just kind of go, okay, fine, right? Then I have left and the right. And I have two sets of them, right? So if you see close here, you can see range left 0, right? And then range left 1, right? And then he's just ping-ponging between the two. And you can see right here, and here's all the values I have set for him, right? I have the object, so it actually, what it does is when it reaches the object, there's a trigger point, and it looks to see where you are and decides if it's worth going to the other one or not, right? And just kind of back and forth. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And in this case, obviously, by checking the state, I can determine, if you're able to squish him or not, because obviously when he's in his patrol mode, he's got the spikes up, and he's going to do damage on you. You're not going to squish him. But when he goes into the turn, then he's vulnerable. So he has a different script attached to him, where I had the other one, it was enemy charging. The script for this one is, obviously you see enemy sandworm, right? Which, a little specific, but it works. So, yeah, I think that explains pretty well. You can pretty much see, yeah, and here's the ranges. So this is where it looks for the different points, and because I just have these two different positions, that works fine, right? There's not much I have to worry about. Obviously, it's going to get a lot more complicated with the next guy, right? When he can scale all through the areas, I'm going to have to come up with a different approach. I think what I'm toying with the idea, at least in my head, and I'll have to test this out, would be the idea that each area will have these little individual items, right? These things, right? Each one will have these edges, and these edges will trigger the character, and the edges will feed the character the information saying, from here you can go to A, B, or C. And then once it has that information, you can look at the player and decide if it's worth going to one of those other places, or to just keep patrolling back and forth in the range that it's currently at. That's the hypothesis. We'll see if it actually implements cleanly or not. I was wondering if the spikes made it so you couldn't squash him. Guess I was right. yeah, that's it. Yeah, I guess I talked about that before you came along, but yeah, exactly. So the objective here is to have new enemies that get introduced in each world, and each progressive world, the enemies get a little more challenging, right? So the first one is he just sits there and waits for you, right? And then you can squish him whenever you want. This one, he's constantly patrolling, and obviously he's totally dangerous whenever he's moving because of the spikes, And then the third world, we introduce the creature that crawls and follows you. I'm debating, and that's the other thing I'm thinking about too, is I'm debating the idea that creature may be able to, spit at you or some kind of venomous kind of thing, because I think that the jungle is going to be all about like toxic stuff all over the place, right? Whereas this one I have the lava, right? And I'm not sure what I'm going to have for canyon, but I figure for the tropical forest it's going to be lots of green poisonous slime, and maybe the creature has the ability to shoot at you, but in a slow fashion. I'm not sure. We'll have to decide if that works or not. It may just be chasing you down, and it may be similar to this, where you can only engage him when he's idle, right? But we'll have to see. Almost like the turtle in Mario. Yeah, it's cool to show in more enemies as time goes on, but even better is finding new ways for old enemies to be a threat. Throw in more enemies. Yeah, true as well. Well, and that was the other thing I mentioned too, was that the very first enemy, the one that just patrols back and forth, or excuse me, the one that just charges when you come in contact, the one that you can squish at any point, they're going to follow you throughout, right? They're the only ones that are going to repeat through all the different worlds. And then it'll be a situation where they start off easier, right? I think in terms of speed and recovery, right? But as they come along more frequently in the later levels, they're going to be reacting faster, right? But because they're always going to be there, and as I said, they are part of the universe that this main character is. It's part of the same intellectual property. So that's the other reason why he's going to be there throughout, constantly dogging our main character, right? But I think whereas it won't really upgrade, it won't become more dangerous because it's sort of like a fixed character already, but the fact that it's always there, right? So you're dealing with a new character, right? And you got that headache, but on top of that, you have the new character kind of like pushing you into the old character sometimes too, right? So that's just going to be an additional headache, I think. So, in terms of, I don't know, in terms of like doing even more enemies, it's possible. I think that's going to be a situation of time, content, and feedback. I mean, the key thing will be introducing all the main enemies, right? And then if it feels a little thin, then I can revisit and introduce additional characters, I think, along the way. But I think the little thing you did with the one charging enemy was cool. How you made a little gap in the ceiling to have him run under you. Yeah, and I mean that would be part of the puzzles too, right? I mean that'll be a situation where if you were in a two-space tunnel, right? I think I have that also for the second world creature. So better example with that one, I think. So if I go B, yeah, and hopefully that will get laid out with the puzzles, right? So here's a situation, right? Where obviously here and there he's going much slower. Oh, nice gameplay there, buddy. Let me bail out, make this full screen, and start again. So, and hopefully this will be something that plays into the puzzles more frequently. So, yeah, obviously you can't take them out there, right? So you have to find yourself a space where you can get to, right? That you can get to them, right, and squish them. That's not possible over here, and obviously over here, the only place you can do it is, oops, when he's over here like that or over here like that. And obviously this is not an option because you can't get up in there, right? You can't get high enough. So you can look at that once you played a little while and pick up on the fact that, yeah, that's not an option. So you're going to have to come over here to this one, and in this case, let the lava take them out for you. But there'll be other ones too where you can just kind of like come over here and then wait for them and take them out. So those will be parts of the puzzle, hopefully. Part of the gameplay, rather. And then for like this one, obviously you're never going to be able to take this guy out. Because, let's see. Hey, you might be able to. Let me see if I do it like just right. Oh. Nope. Whoa, lava. There you go. Hey, you can't squish him. There you go. Didn't see the dropping lava yet. Yeah, that was sort of like a recent addition. It's kind of a fun thing. If you come back to the first one again, drop that back in like so. There you go. So for this guy, put the mouse out of the way. Get up here, buddy. All right. So, oops. Yeah, so this is a situation. Oh, crap. I messed that up. Get up there, buddy. Go. All right, go, 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 go. There. Right. So in this one, you see there's absolutely no space whatsoever to try and take him out. Right. There's no gap. So in this case, I thought it'd be fun to have this lava that just drops out. Right. And let me get him out of the way down here. There he goes. And hit that. Let it drop down. Boom. And then the lava would dissipate over time. So that way it's a brief thing. So you have to make sure you do the timing right. But then it's one of those things that it's not there permanently to do damage to you and maybe get you trapped, which would suck. You know, and then obviously there could be something up here like an entrance to one of the little bonus rooms. So that is the thought with that. But yeah, so the lava will be kind of like a quasi weapon for you as well, which I think would be kind of fun. Yeah. Yep. And that was why originally I had it where the breakable brick that you see, originally you just went right through it, right? But I realized when I did that, the lava would always hit you on the head, right? So that's when I switched it off and made the brick, when you impact it, it actually pushes you back down. Because originally when you hit the brick, it would turn invisible, so your jump would continue on. But then that making that fix made it so then I didn't have to worry about the lava hitting you in the head, but that also broke that one element to the puzzle I showed you where you're trying to get by, I think it was like section 7, where you have to get in that really tight area. But that's something I can address later on. Anyway. Jumping headfirst into lava sounds painful. It does, doesn't it? I don't recommend it. Yeah, it's like, oh, and that was another thing too. So this was a fun thing I had to deal with. So the key feedback that I got from everyone, the one thing that I had at least 8 people pointed out, because when I demoed it at the Level Up Expo a few weeks ago, right, I said, hey, give me your thoughts, anything you know, and then everybody was really positive, right, with the exception of they were complaining about the hitbox, right, and rightly so, right. And here's the situation. Let me show you. So what I had, I'll show you my creative workaround. So yeah, let me just pause this and come into this one full screen. Right. So here's the situation. So what I have is a collider that's a box, but I have a character that's more spherical in shape, right? And his general shape, right? And there's no change in that because I actually contacted Renaud, the creator of the Corgi plugin, right, that I'm using for this setup for the character, and I asked him, it's kind of like, okay, what I need to do is I need to reduce the length of the raycast on these guys on the edge, because what would happen is it would get too close to the edge there, and then people would take damage from the lava, you know, like they would get, like, I can move them over here. Yeah, so you'd like get them like to here, right? And then that first raycast would touch, and it would take damage, and they were kind of going, I wasn't that close, and I took damage, right? So I asked him, I was like, how can I just, I want these raycasts to be this long, but I want these raycasts to be not as long. And he politely informed me that, you know, basically I'm an idiot, that he politely just said, that's not the way raycasts work, dude. That's not what they do. You need to understand this is how it happens, right? And I quickly learned, oh crap, okay, because he's doing this box methodology, it's great for speed, right? It works fantastic for performance, but the catch is you do not change that, right? That's it. So then I had to come up with some workarounds. So originally what I did was I tried doing the lava where I decreased the collider box on him, right? So that way it gave me a little room, right? It was a cheat, and it made it better, but it also still broke when I was trying to hit the lava on the side. So that was like a non-starter as well. So, you know, he came back and he just said, look, if you're gonna do it with a spherical character, you really need to consider doing physics, right? Just true physics. And I was like, no, I'm not. No, no, I'm not going down the road, man. I like the way the game controls. I like the way the player controls, right? I'm not going to jump ship now with switching from raycast into true physics controls. Nuh-uh. So I had to come up with a workaround. So I'll show you my creative idea, and you guys can laugh or commend me on it, whichever you choose. So here's what I did. If I can find my actual character. Let me... There you go. So player controller. This is my script that was semi-borrowed from what was going on with the Corgi, but then heavily modified to suit my own needs, right? So let's come down here. So what we do is, like, obviously if trigger enter, if it's an enemy, boom, damage, right? Or it's either we take damage or and then you can see here's where I do the check too. I check my Y position, and if it's at a certain Y position, then I know that it's a squish, unless it's a oh, and this is what I do too. This is tricky. So if it hits the sandworm, right, obviously the sandworm has to be idle. So what I do is, and you guys can tell me if this is stupid or creative, but what I do is I dynamically change the game object name, right? So when he's going across the screen and he's dangerous, I call him Sandworm. But when he reaches the edge, I briefly rename him Sandworm Idle. So if you hit him and his name is not equal to Sandworm, then that means he must be idle, so you can't squish him. But if his name is Sandworm, that means the spikes are out. So that was my, you know, the usual way is to like go fetch, you know, get component and that kind of stuff. And to me, because you're gonna hit this thing all the time, I didn't want to be doing these constant get component calls, because that's insane. So my creative solution was just the sandworm renames itself all the time. So, and it works. It seems like it works, and it seems like it doesn't hit performance. So what the heck, right? So and then if it does squish, then it shows the does that. If you're dumb, I must not even have a brain. Wow, dude, that's the nicest compliment I had all day, in a funny kind of way. Oh, okay. Well, thanks. Okay. Well, if nothing else, it was creative, right? I'm Kobayashi Maruing the hell out of my game, right? I'm just rewriting the rules as I go along. Is it the correct way? I have no clue, but there you go. There's some bombs for you. All right. So then I also do this. What I do is if he does squish the character, then what I also do is I kind of figure out his position, so that way I can do a push off, right? And this is something that the Corgi does that I didn't like. No matter where you hit the character, right, it just looks at your direction you're facing, and that determines way the bounce would happen if you bounce off of them. And I hated that, because sometimes that like makes you bounce the wrong direction, right? So I check your X position and to figure out if, you know, which way you should actually get pushed, right? So to me that's just a minor thing, but to me it's a big thing for a gamer. I think they'd care about that. So that's if you did squish them. Then what it'll do is it just it sends to the game controller. It just tells it to add enemy hit, and then so it does two things. So that gives the counter, which right now I know I have my counter for enemy hits in my game controller. That will go out, but right now this was just a quick hack, so that'll go in a separate script later on. But right now it's just buried right there, and then it sends off a message. The main script is actually on the, so the enemy has a main controller above it, because I'm using the animation stuff. So the controller has the script. Sorry, that's convoluted, but anyways, the point is that the collider on the enemy isn't where the script is. So I just use the send message upward, so it goes up to the parent where the script is, and then he gets told that, guess what, you got squished, right? And then the enemy gets squished right there. So he gets that information, he goes away. Right now it just disappears, but there'll be great animation, you know, all kinds of squish guts going everywhere once the game is going. You could make the lava lower as well. Lower? you can make it lower as well. I'm not sure what you mean. You mean like physically lower, or I mean, well, let's see. The hitbox. Oh, well, okay. Well, actually, I don't want to, spoilers here, but I did actually fix everything, right? And I'll show you my creative workarounds. Because yeah, it was broken, but it's not broken now. And I'll show you my solutions. So, yeah. So I was trying to piecemeal it out, but yeah, spoilers. Yeah, it's fixed. So we'll skip all this. Projectiles, of course, you take a hit. So we have lava. So right now I have a couple of different things, right? So lava is just sitting on the ground, right? And that one, you can land on lava, right? And then lava flow is when you have a stream, right? And so I do those as two separate entities because lava flow, if you go through it, I don't want it to stop you, right? Because then it becomes a physical barrier. So lava flow, you can pass through it. You're going to take damage, but at least it's just briefly hitting you and you can still pass through. But lava, I want you to be able to rest on top of it. And then lava rising, which actually I think I can probably consolidate lava and lava rising. I'll have to check that, but I think these two, I think I can actually kill lava rising and just use lava because they're both behaving in the same fashion now. But so here's what I do. Check this out. So what I do is I say, okay, and of course, if he's in the process of being damaged, then just ignore it because we're not going to do as long as he's in damage phase, ignore. We get the information of what object we actually hit, right? And then we go into a coroutine to figure out what we actually did hit, right? And see if we're going to take damage. Which, you know what? Actually, that's probably why I do have this still separate. Because lava rising, anytime you hit it, it's a guaranteed hit, right? Excuse me, anytime you ever come across lava rising, if you make contact, you're damaged. But lava, there could be a situation like I was showing you there, right? Because lava rising is going to go always across the full screen. But lava could have a situation where you could, as I was showing you, right? Where you're not touching it yet, right? But you're still taking damage. So let's go to take damage. Here we are. All right. So if it's a legitimate thing, we do that. Let's see. Wait. Okay, not gonna think about this because I changed this, but let me see. Green damage. Okay, I guess I did change that. Okay, hold on. I gotta grab some food before it burns. Yeah, please. I do not want to feel responsible for that. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. It'll give me a second to figure out where I had that adjusted. Oh, this on trigger stay. Oh, I gotta fix that. Cool. All right, I gotta fix that because it's on trigger enter where I have the proper thing here, I think, right? No. Take damage. So, how did I? Oh, maybe it was just a combination. Okay, I think that's what it was. No, what the heck? I thought we had that. Maybe I undid it. No. I remember because... Okay. Sorry. It's coming back to me. I mean, I did this at least, 24 hours ago, so it's not surprising I forgot what I did because, I'm old and borderline senile. All right. So, my workaround originally was... I should have let that stay. Let me bring that back up again. All right. So my original workaround was I would have a check, right? And I would say that, so at this point, I think it's actually making contact right there. Oh, that's pretty close. All right. And then what I would do is I would just say, if it's within a certain X range, right? You know, it would ignore it, right? Which is cool. I mean, that seemed to be like the perfect idea, right? I would just say, look, if it's, you know, if this contact is beyond like this point on his X, ignore it because that's not a real contact. But the trade-off there was the fact that, I'll show you. Let me come back here. I'll show you what that broke. All right. This is what ended up breaking. When I did that, right, when I had an X check, right, when I made sure that it was like, you know, in that contact range, ignore, then I had this situation like this, right, where here, right, what would happen would be, let me find myself. There you go. Right? So in this case, this is a situation where he's still resting on that lava, right? Now, I mean, this is placeholder, so, I mean, the real character is going to be, like, reaching the edge here. But, so you can ignore that little space there. But, here's the situation. So, I mean, like, if I say that ignore any contact that's beyond this X point, that meant that he would be floating on top there, right? And not taking any damage, right? But that was because I was assuming there's ground underneath me. And I had no way of checking to see if there's ground underneath me, right? I had no simple, unless I want to do a whole raid cast whose sole purpose was just to check if there's ground. So that ended up being my initial solution, but I got away from it. And what I ended up doing was simply just contracting. As you can see, the collider box, right? Originally, it was more like, you know, one was, oops, it's too far. But, you know, so the collider box reaches all the way out there. That's his true space. But then, obviously, anything that hits there, and that's what I had people complaining about. When it, you know, if you think about it, if this is giving you damage, right, that's crazy. Because you're not even, like, coming close to touching it, right? So by contracting it in, I was able to get it so you can get really close before you actually take any real damage. There's still a slight imperfection to it, but I think it's within the margin of error that no one's really going to complain. I'll show you. Drop it back in. Yeah. Oh, no, no. Actually, sorry, I wanted the other. Switch that back out. There you go. So you can see how far I'm getting up to this. So my original demo, right? At this point, I would be taking damage, right? Because you can see when I had the collider box reaching to the full edge, he was like already hitting, right? But I mean, you see how far I can go over now before. Okay, so that's it. I mean, so there's like a little space there, but I think if you're gonna get that close, especially once I get to the true character, and it's gonna have a little more reaching out in the sides there, right? So I mean, it will feel like he's making contact. You're not gonna feel like you're getting cheated there, right? So that was the trade-off. You know, the X check was great until it wasn't. You know. It worked perfectly in this situation, and I could get it like pixel accurate all the way up to like that point. But then, once again, if there's no ground underneath me, then he could just rest on the edge of that lava and never take any damage. So that turned out to be not the way to go. But then I had the situation of, so let me show you. So the trade-off then is because that collider box, right, is so far in, he does have that overlap, which at first I was upset, but I'm like, you know what, I don't mind this. I think a lot of games have an overlap, right? You can just kind of say that it's just him hanging onto the side of the wall, right? So even though that's kind of a cheat, I mean, in essence, he's kind of embedding himself into the geo, I don't really mind it. I think that's actually pretty permissible. You know, to me, that's not nearly as bad as it could be. And the benefit is that gives me the trade-off, and it actually works. So let me come back in here, switch this back out to this guy again, And so the next thing I had was the issue of like this situation. Now you can see if I get right in here, and let me zoom in. Can I zoom in? There you go. Yeah. So there. So I mean, you can see like I'm really making contact there, right? But what I had, and as soon as he's touching there, he's taking the damage, right? I didn't have that. I had a situation where kind of like, if you remember the wall, remember how the wall does that overlap, right? And I mean, so like, here's the situation, right? So it's not detecting that wall contact until he's already that far into it, right? You know, but conversely here, as soon as he touches, he's making contact. And this is the way I did that. I got sneaky. I couldn't do it with the player, right? That just wasn't an option. That didn't help, right? So my solution was to actually go back into the lava, right? And I got sneaky. So let me come back into my tiles, temp lava, go to my sprite editor. Oops, wrong one. Wrong lava. Let me try that again. Temp lava. There it is. This bad boy. There we go. So here's that lava that you just saw, right? Editing is stable during play mode. I don't want to edit, I just want to show and tell. Alright. So really? Okay, fine. Let me let me take it out of play mode. It's gonna get really obnoxious about it. Okay. So then my solution was, let me see, can I not actually show my current that I had? All right. Well, then I guess I can describe it since it doesn't want to actually show what I did. But so what I did was basically just pulled it in further, right? So well, actually pulled the graphics in further, but then pushed the collision further out, right? And it wasn't this far, but unfortunately, this is something I don't like. When you make sprite editor, let's see. All right, let me try. Okay, I am reverted. So why am I not seeing the actual collision? That's kind of annoying. So it won't show it. But what I did is I just spaced this out. It's not quite this far out, but by bringing the geo in like this, right? By cheating it in on the tile and just letting the collider box still stick out further, that just meant that it makes contact sooner, right? So total cheat. And unfortunately, I can't show you the collider box on, or can I? Let's see, can I do that? I don't think it's going to show up, is it? Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, well then I guess there you go. So by traditional nature, when you do this, it wants to, by default, it wants to hug this. So it wants to bring that collider box. And if you think about it, you'd think the fact that you'd want that collider edge to be right here. But because the player has that situation like so, there you go. See, because you get that overlap. So if the lava actually reached the edge of that tile, right, you can see why there's the player would overlap the lava before it ever do the detection. But by doing the cheat, by cheating the lava graphics further back in, right, that allows me, turn that off, there, see, so now that collider box and his raycasts match, right, when it makes the contact now, just like that. There you go. So that was my workaround. It was just a combination of reducing the player's collider box and just tweaking the tiles, the physical shape of the tiles to make that work. So, and then the same thing over on this side as well, right? So even though the tile ends here, but you can see the collider box is the full length out, and that allows it to be much more natural. So it feels like he's actually making contact with it. So, like that. See, it looks like he's physically touching it, right? He looks like he's on the edge of it. But if you could think about that graphic, you know, that tile, if it the lava, if it went to the full edge, you can imagine how there'd be this overlap before it even detect it, and you're kind of going, you know, it's broken. So that was my cheat. That was my workaround. I think that's all I have. Oh! Sorry, that was the other thing too, right? Okay, that's why I gotta fix that. That's why I was taking the damage on that. Okay, so the other thing I did too was on the edge. I can show you in the tutorial. There he goes. I did kind of a similar situation whereas on the edge lava, I pulled in the graphics, but for a ground edge, I did the other way around. I left the graphics all the way to the edge, and I bring in the collider box. Rather than keep running my mouth, let me show you. Just go into my menu, the tutorial. I don't think I changed anything there. There. So here we go. So if we come back to the tile for him. Lava pool. Nah, it's not gonna let me. Okay. There. Oh, you can see it here, right? So here's the individual lava tile for an edge, right? And you can see that it's filling up the entire tile space, but you can see what I did is I cheated the collider box in, right? So that's why I was making contact the other one, because I didn't update him. I gotta fix that. But so now the beauty of this is if I fire this up, I'll bring this like that. There you go. There he goes. So now, there you go. See? So at this point, I still haven't taken damage because I cheated that collision box on the edge in, right? So it isn't until it reaches there that that tile collider box and that raycast are going to make contact. So like that. There it is. And it just crosses over just barely. There. There you go. So now, that's what I did. Okay, so that's why I couldn't show you before why I was wrong, was because I hadn't updated that one. Because this is a new thing I just did like yesterday. But there you go. So you can see you're like way on top of it, right? And originally, when I had the demo set up at the convention a few weeks ago, you could never get this far. You could only get like right here on the edge. And that's why people were getting upset with me, because of that collision. But there's my workaround. And seems to be working nicely. So there you go. Long story to get to the point that you can do that without actually making contact. There it is. So it helps when I show you the right thing. There you go. So that's cool. And of course, when he does stay, it's the trigger stay, on trigger stay kicks off. And this tutorial, so there's no damage, so it'll just take damage endlessly. But yeah, so there you go. So now you can actually get really close. So I guess what I'm also saying is I need to fix those others, right? Which I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. So let me fix one, just an example, so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's good. Which one was I looking at? You guys remember? Here. Oh yeah, here you go. Perfect example. All right. Oh, but wait. Is he? Yeah, I'm still using tiles on this anyways. This is something I gotta fix. Okay, I did not. Wait, I didn't fix him? Alright, so most of these I did fix. As I mentioned like a million years ago at this point, when I first started the stream, when I was doing this demo, I was trying to do it quickly. So originally what I did is all of these things are individual sprites, right? Which is just wrong. This is not the way to go. Because you're going to take a massive performance hit, because each one has their own separate collider and all that kind of crap, right? So that's not what I want. The other thing I was worried about, what I want to do is consolidate it into its own separate tile layer, right? And that's actually what I ended up doing. But my fear was the fact that I was using this as a cheat originally to also detect where it was hitting, right? Depending on the position of the object. And that's the other reason why I had to get rid of the XCheck code, was because if I consolidate this all into one giant tile map, right, then its center is going to be like maybe like in the center of the screen, so that made it not usable. But by consolidating, the one thing I also found too was the ability to do the point check, right? Which I don't know if I even need that anymore, but I have to think back. I was able to do one with on the trigger touch, and it finds closest bounds. Man, that was it. Yeah, there it is. There we go. That's what I was doing. Okay, so I do this thing called closest point on a 2D collider. So this isn't as accurate as the actual point touch as you would on any kind of collision, but you guys that are real programmers out there know that if you're using a trigger collision, you don't get contact points. So closest point was sort of my workaround, and that was enabled to give me the closest value, and that still use a full tile map, right? So it didn't matter the tile map was like all over the place. So let me find a good example. Yeah, here you go. So whereas before each one of these was individual tiles, but now this is all one giant tile map, like so. And the beauty of that is the fact that now I have that all as just one collider. Well, I guess they're separate, so 2 colliders. Whereas before each one of these were separate colliders, and you got a performance hit. But that consolidates it really nicely. And now I can't do my position check as I did before because, you know, here's its center. So that's no good. But by using this little doohickey, this little closest point call, which I just discovered a couple days ago, allows me to actually accurately figure out within margin of error close enough where that contact occurred anywhere on that tile. So there you go. So I did update all these, but I guess I did not update these guys, or at least this one. So I need to fix him. So of all the ones I had to demo is the one that I didn't actually correct, but I can do it right now. How about that? I'll do that one thing and then I'm going to call it quits. So let's go ahead and create a new 2D object tile map, and we'll call that tile map lava flow, because that's what I've been calling all of them. All right, do that. Right. And then we come in. Oh, and by the way, this is something they fixed too. I don't know if you guys heard me complain before, but you know, when you were laying in tiles, you always had to do the thing where you had to switch the active tile map down here. I'm happy to say that 2019 actually fixed that, so you can see the active tile map updates when I choose the different layer. 2017, that was all kinds of broken, but I'm happy to say that 2019, maybe 2018, maybe they fixed it in that one. I don't know. But I'm just happy it works now. So, yay. So, we lava flow, but let's go ahead and switch to our temp lava. All right. So then we can take this and then... Let me switch this. Okay, right now by default, I don't know why it does this, but by default when you create a new tile map, it always scales it to half size. Someone much smarter than me can tell me why it does that. I have no freaking clue. Why? Alright, so anyways, that's done. So now we're going to go ahead and put him here and him here. And as you see, we don't see anything because, number one, these guys are covering it. And number two, the layer is behind. So we're going to put him up to 11, and now he's there. Good. So just by doing that, we got part of the way there. So now we have this guy, which unfortunately there's nothing happening yet because we got to add all the components to it. So let's start off with tile map collider. So that gives us, there we go. So now we got the collisions here, which we could leave it like that if we want to, but for 2 it doesn't really matter. But I guess I'll go ahead and be cool about this. Excuse me. So we changed, from that we go composite collider, so that'll combine them together. And once we do that, we tell him to use the composite. Boom, and then it switches to 1. Right? It's subtle. I don't know if you can see that. You know, but it's just that one little line right in there. Oh, there it is. There. So you can see there's 2, and then if I do that, it consolidates it. If I click the right thing, consolidates it to 1. And the final thing we got to do is also switch this from dynamic to static. Otherwise, the lava just sinks. It just floats right to the bottom of the screen. So now that we did that, and I have autosave going, so we don't have to save anything there. Good. So then let's come back into, where are we? Oh, we're in main menu. Let me switch back to this. No, I don't think I changed anything in there. Game controller. Easy. We'll switch this back to. Was it A or B? I think it was A. It was B. Or was it test A? Did I screw? Oh, I fixed the wrong one. Oh well. I'll just show you test A, even though the sandworm will be broken in this one, but at least you can see the fix I just made. So we'll say test. Drop him in there. There. All right. So, as I said, of all the ones I could have shown you from the beginning, right, to show you the collision, I had to show you the one that I had not updated. So, that's, idiot me there. But what I'll do is I'll come zoom it way in here tight. So remember before how he's making the contact, right? But now if we look at this, there. So we're like, there you go. I mean, that's 20%, 25% over the lava, and he's not registering the hit like he shouldn't because he's not quite making contact, right? Make it a little closer. Look at that right there. That's the edge. Any closer? Uh-oh, he takes nothing. Oh! That's because I didn't finish it, did I? That's because, let's go, lava flow. Interesting. Why is there something over there? Don't know. All right, we got to tell it it's lava. So we call it lava. Set up as, yeah, oops, let me switch. I think, yeah, I'm going to leave this as lava. Do I have... Yes, lava. There. So, remember I told you before, lava and lava flow. Lava flow is designed to be able to go through it, whereas lava is actually... oh yeah, and I gotta switch to the trigger too. Forgot all kinds of things. There. There. That should actually show it fixed. So let's try this again. Come up here. Get really close. And there's our damage. There it is. Sweet. Yeah, so there you go. That's as much as you can ask for. There you go. Whereas before, literally, if this part of him made contact with the lava originally, it was taking damage. But now I got that fixed, so it behaves really nicely. And now this, you don't feel like you're getting cheated now. Now you're feeling like you're almost cheating. You're just like really riding the edge there, right? But there you go. Uh-oh. Wait. I think I broke something else in my process there. What was that? I couldn't jump past it, could I? What did I miss? Yeah. Okay. I think there's something there that I'm missing. Let me see what I broke. Oh, wall edge. That's because I did fix the wrong level. This has some old stuff in there that it should not have. So let me go ahead and I said it was going to be done, but let me fix this one. I'll fix the proper one. So I'm going to delete these guys. Or actually, I'll leave them in. I'm just going to turn them off so you can see the difference. So I can demonstrate, do a A/B demo. All right, so real quick. 2D object, tile map. Lava flow. I should probably call that lava, not lava flow, but too late. Already done. Switch both to lava. There you go. Oh. Switch it back to 1 because it's retarded for putting it that way as a 0.5. That's annoying. Alright, and then bring it into the foreground like so. And tile 2D map collider. That's good. And then combine them so it'll also add static. It adds our little rigid body and is trigger, and that should be all we need. So it's a bit faster. There it goes. There it is. So we get right in there and then we hit our contact there. So there you go. So you can see that, right? I mean, yeah, I'm right. Look at that. I'm right there, like pixel perfect kind of stuff. That, I'm proud of that. That's good. So just to show you the comparison of what I had originally, let me go ahead and turn off lava flow and turn back on, if I can find them, Crud. Oh crap. I got too many of these things sitting in here. See if it pops up in one of these. No, I outsmarted myself. Falling lava. It should be in this section. Recharging. Alright, let me try that one more time and just figure out where the heck that thing is. Lava wall. There, okay, I'll just turn it back on. Since you saw it. Whoa. Por qué? I'm on the wrong one. Test A. Oh, that's why. Let me briefly turn that off. And then I should see the old one. No. Alright, now I'm confounded. That's weird. It's almost like it's not saving. No, not trigger clone. There he goes. And it's still not. That's weird. Section 100 test. Oh, because I'm still loading. Oh, I'm the idiot. Because I'm still pulling in the wrong one. Let me put it to test A. There it goes. All right. Doofus. There it goes. That's what I wanted. So this is what I was going to show you, right? Obviously, and I get right there. See, I'm taking damage, and you're like, that's not even close, right? Look at that. I'm taking damage even though there's a gap right there. You can see that gap. So, you know, and it's not significant. It's not much. I mean, it's just a few pixels, but you know, I would get nailed for that. You know. I mean, I would complain if I was a gamer and I was like playing like so close to finishing the game and I get nailed on something like that. Yeah, I would not be happy. So, but there you go. That is my workarounds for the issues of a spherical type character that has a box for a collider, and how do you make it work in that environment. We're still using the raycast because it's nice and speedy, and you don't have to go into the whole real physics add 4 stuff, which just freaks me out. I've had so much bad luck when I've tried to do that. So there you go. But everything's working. That's and that's in a nutshell, in a 3-hour nutshell. That's how I've been spending the last several weeks, guys, getting this thing up to speed. So here you go. One more final round of bombs for you guys. Just lay them out there. Everyone flies. Everyone flies. There you go. There you go. Look at that. All right, guys. We're after 6. That's a 3-hour run for me in my new time. Now I'm going to do this 3 to 6 kind of thing. Experiment with that. See how that goes. But, yeah, that's going to do it for me. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Checking out the latest and greatest. Looking forward to spilling the beans on all this stuff, especially going to E3 and hopefully pulling some strings and seeing how that goes. Fingers crossed. Wish me luck, guys. But yeah, I'll be back Wednesday, and hopefully I'm going to start playing with adding some power-ups. Actually do the integration on this stuff. Since I asked you guys and I said, if you think it's brilliant, just don't say anything, and you guys were silent. No one said anything, so wow. Look at that, man. Hit it out of the park. First time at bat. Look at that. Nice. All right, guys. That'll do it. I'm going to pack it in. Everyone take care of themselves. Thanks for hanging out. Uh-oh. Oh, God. Just reaching for the end stream. Silence! What? Wait, did I ruin it? No. I'm gonna fix it in post, man. I'm deleting all this. This is cutting room floor stuff here. This will never get seen. This is all gonna disappear. Yeah. Man. Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out with me, man. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the comments and just hanging out. Yeah, that's it, man. I'll be back on Wednesday. Everyone take care of yourselves. I can do the usual spiel, but you know it. It's right that way. My usual contact stuff, if you want to join me on Discord, I'm always over there. I don't initiate much in terms of conversation. I know that's bad of me, but I do respond pretty frequently and pretty quickly. So if you want to reach out to me, Discord, that's probably the quickest way to get a response out of me. But that's going to do it, guys. I enjoyed it. It's nice to be back. Enjoy the sabbatical, but it's better to be here. So you guys take care of yourself, and we'll be more of the same on Wednesday, although I think I'm going to have a new webcam. I'm replacing my 6-year-old $20 webcam with a better one. We'll see if that's money well spent or just money well spent. We'll see. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. I will see you all on Wednesday. All right? Adios.